Really what it comes down to is a kind of a climate of fear and anger and sadness. And that's really weird in colleges.
Arthur C. Brooks is a Harvard professor of management practice and the practice of public and nonprofit leadership. He wrote an opinion piece in the Harvard Crimson called Make Harvard Happy Again, about a culture of fear and contempt and how the solution isn't getting rid of controversy or diminishing disagreement.
Traditionally, colleges have been thought of as pretty happy places where people have some of the best experiences of their lives. But what's happened in American politics and media is the same thing that's happening on campuses, which is that we become, kind of a culture war type of place. And the result of that is that people are less happy than they used to be. And this is one of the reflections of that in the way that people are acting and people are behaving and treating each other.
Yeah, protesters have held up signs accusing Israel of committing mass murder. Some have taken it a step further, though, by openly supporting Hamas, which did commit mass murder on October 7th. When a situation is this polarized, is there any way to get back to whatever normal is, even if it's just on the college campuses where these protests are happening? Because as you said, there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in this.
There is. And the truth is that college campuses have always been places where very contentious positions have been staked out. And ordinarily, and under the best of times in particular, people can do that without freaking out. I mean, most people will remember back to really audacious positions taken by their professors or other students, et cetera. And the whole point was exploring different points of view as opposed to trying to cancel different points of view. That's the big problem. The problem is not that people say outrageous things on campuses. The problem is that there is this kind of orthodoxy and this kind of radicalism that says if you say a particular thing, then we have to get rid of you. We have to hurt you. We have to cast you out. We have to cancel you, whatever happens to be. I'm not worried about people saying radical things at all. I just want people to be able to say them and not lose their minds, that to be able to have friends who think very radically different things than they do. And right now, we're not very good at that.
Are you worried about this climate stifling debate for the long term on campuses?
Yeah, I'm worried about that in America, quite frankly. I mean, if I look at both political parties, and good luck to you if you have an outside view. If you're a Republican that doesn't, hold the Trump line, you're not gonna be successful. And if you're a Democrat and you're not left wing enough, you're gonna struggle, is the bottom line. And that's just not the kind of climate that I want of open debate inside politics. And that's just reflected in all sorts of other places as well. It's very difficult to go on a particular network, left wing, right wing, whatever wing, and have different points of view and have it be a friendly discussion, which is not the way that things should be in America. And then on campuses, it gets even more bitter because there's a lot of really young people, and they're being fomented to think that anybody who disagrees with them is trying to deny their existence, which is abject nonsense, and it makes life misery.
How do we address that? Is it the education system? Do steps need to be taken early on? And how can that be done without being accused of, trying to indoctrinate young students one way or the other?
Yeah, no, what we need to do is to recognize that our country is being run by activists, and that's just no good. People should have different points of view. When you have activists in charge, however, what activists want is power, and what they want is more power than they currently have, and they'll use almost any means to get it. Now, what we find is that the political parties are being run entirely by activists. Activists have shot through American media, which is why people don't trust media. They don't trust media even on their own side, quite frankly, and we all know that's the case. And it's the same problem on college campuses. We all need to stand up to activists. And this is what we need to do on college campuses, to say, this is a place of inquiry. This is a marketplace of ideas. This is the fundamental to a free society is the competition of ideas. And if you can't come here without trying to establish a dogmatic orthodoxy, if you're going to come here and try to get rid of somebody else's speech, go home. You're not welcome here. And those are the kinds of things that we need to start enforcing. We need to become anti-activist activists, I guess.
How do you enforce that, though, and still have healthy barriers, I guess you would say, drawing lines that can allow all of the students to feel safe? Because right now, there is this fear, and then there are a lot of students, Jewish students in particular, who don't feel safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually pretty straightforward. Universities have rules about where you can and where you can't actually do protest. You can't do protest any place. You can't disrupt a class. You can't block access to a building. You can't block the right of way of other students. All those things are against the rules, and you have to coldly enforce them, non-emotionally, and say, the minute you do that, we're going to suspend we're going to suspend your access to our community. You're no longer going to be a student in good standing. We're going to have security to make sure that people who come on campus who are not members of our community are trespassing and they'll be arrested. Just follow the rules is what it comes down to. And once we do that, when people can't transgress the rules, when they can't push it too far, they won't have the power that they actually seek. And the activists will be disempowered, and the big majority of people that are there to learn and like each other and fall in love and have fun and all the stuff you're supposed to do in college can actually flourish.
How much of this polarization do you think is social media's fault, or are we kind of taking the easy way out by blaming social media for so many things?
Well, social media makes most things worse, of course. I mean, it does a lot of good things as well. You can get positive approach. You can get positive messages out effectively as well, and fun stuff and funny stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But it's also a great accelerator for negative information and fomenting these ideas that the activists are trying to get across. And so the result of it is that, sure, something that would take months to put together is actually happening quicker. I will point out, however, that about every 50 years, you have a climate like this on college campuses. You go back to 1968 to 73 or something like that, and people were taking over entire administration buildings with arms. I mean, they were bringing guns into, blowing up labs, and it was actually much worse, and there was no social media in those days.
You actually wrote a book with Oprah Winfrey, for anyone who doesn't know, called Build the Life You Want, The Art and Science of Getting Happier. If people were happier in general, how much could that help to bridge some of the gaps on polarizing issues?
It's a great question. And the answer is it would do everything. The truth is you can't just fight hatred and sadness and bitterness and contempt with more hatred, anger, sadness, and contempt. You fight it by putting something more positive in its place. You give people what they really want. People will take bitterness. People will take revenge. But what they want is they want more happiness. They want more love. And they don't know how. And so the more that we can actually install this, look, Oprah and I wrote this book because we want a better country. There's a lot of ways we don't see the world the same way, but that's one way we sure do, which is that we want to lift people up and bring them together in bonds of happiness and love using ideas.
I guess the big question too is, how do you get people to take that plunge? It's like you would think people want to feel happier, but when they're in the midst of feeling a certain way on a certain issue, that can be a tough sell.
Yeah, it can be, except that people want it. And when things get bad enough, they won't stay there. This is just the way that history works. People are going to start fighting back, and they're going to start figuring out a real truth, which is that when they're really unhappy, the reason is because they're being fired up by people on their own side. Look, when you hate for political reasons, you become somebody's product. You become a news product. You become a political product. You become a political activist's product. You're working for somebody else when you hate. And people aren't going to put up with that forever. I think the Gen Z actually holds the key to this because they're going to have a rebellion. They're going to rebel against the people at their own universities and people who are telling them what they're supposed to think. And they're going to say, no, I refuse to hate people because they disagree with me. They're not trying to deny my existence because they disagree on these ideological issues, even profoundly in ideological issues. On the contrary, I want to talk to them. I really want to hear about it. And that's ordinarily what would happen. I think that's what's going to happen.
You sound optimistic. Are you hopeful about the future of this country, even the, immediate future in the next weeks and months to come? And what would you say to people who aren't so optimistic or even fearful about what's coming next?
Yeah, you use two words that are really important. Yeah, optimistic and hopeful. Hopeful and optimistic are not the same. So optimism is a prediction. Hope is active, saying there's something we can do. I am incredibly hopeful. There's so much that each one of us can do. And by the way, what we do doesn't start with changing the whole world. It's changing the lives of people directly around us. You can make the world better the microcosm that is the world around you by treating with love somebody who disagrees with you and listening to somebody who has a different point of view. You've changed the world. You've literally changed the world in that way. That's an ancient Jewish idea that in each person is the whole world. And I'm hopeful because I can, and I'm trying to do that with my work. But I'm also pretty optimistic because, looking at history over the last few hundred years in the United States, and especially the past 100 years in the United States, we always come back from these things. We learn from them. There's overreach. The people who are the bullies, the leaders who are the bullies, they don't keep power very long.
So hope. It comes down to hope and individual actions.
Yep. And the more we do, and the more we do with courage, and the more we do with good humor, and the more that we model it in our lives by loving other people, the sooner it's going to come.
Harvard professor and author Arthur C. Brooks, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
My wife and I we ended up mildly sick for a few months, and the nasal congestion was probably the worst part. I had like a post-nasal drip, just super congested all the time. We were taking everything we possibly could, but nothing really worked.
Kyrie was miserable until a friend recommended Navage. Navage offers immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Don't live in misery this cold season. Use Navage so you can breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
The biggest thing Navage has done has completely cleaned out my nasal passages. It was from the first use. I was able to just clear out anything that was stopping me from breathing correctly. Navage helps me clear the way, literally clear the way for me to operate better in the rest of my life.
Experience the Navage difference yourself. Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. Navage, Navage.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Get ready for grilling season with the Burger Perfection Flight for just $79.99 at omahasteaks.com. 20 mouthwatering pure ground burgers for just $79.99. Rich and juicy handheld steaks with mic-dropping flavor. A guaranteed explosive combo of tenderness, juiciness, and unmatched quality. Go to omahasteaks.com for the Burger Perfection Flight today. That's omahasteaks.com. Order the Burger Perfection Flight for $79.99. Hurry, supplies are limited. Omaha Steaks, America's original.
Columbo and Katie.
First, the sun disappeared. Then we found out the president's uncle was eaten by cannibals, and now over 1 trillion bugs are crawling out of the ground 4 weeks before they're supposed to. We tried to make sense of it all Tuesday with Brain Durham.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield. Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stiefel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Number one for live and local
conservative talk.
They always have great conversation.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Shame on you, Joe Biden!
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
We need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses.
Does the president have dementia?
That is an incredibly offensive question to ask.
Bobby Kennedy could fall into every swing state and foul it up for Joe Biden.
Donald Trump will become president again.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Whoever wins is all of the above, and it's about to go down.
Yeah! Let's go!
The Worth 400 from Dover. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 Eastern on FS1.
A deeper dive into the major and controversial stories of the day. This is the Fox News Rundown. More coming up.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Donald Trump back in court, and the state-controlled media and their lapdogs just can't wait for a guilty verdict.
Larry Connors, USA.
Now, weeknights 6 until 8.
On News Talk STL.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Looking to get a new carpet, hardwood, or tile installed quickly and efficiently in your home? Look no further than Michael's Flooring Outlet. Michael's Flooring Outlet is a family-owned and operated business with a 30-year history of offering a diverse array of high-quality options in flooring. My parents and in-laws used Michael's to rip up their old carpet and replace it, and they are both happy with the product and installation from Michael's. You can shop at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Darting Prairie, or St. Peters, or you can check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for Customer Satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peter's location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you. For more than a decade, they have successfully helped over 20,000 owners get out of their timeshare with an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. Customer service is their priority. For a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Tuesday, last week in Pennsylvania, President Biden told a crowd that his uncle was eaten by cannibals in New Guinea during World War II. Quite the headline. I'm sure you heard about it. Immediately, cannibals all over the world began filing defamation suits. Subsequently, Biden's statement was corrected as Joe's uncle was shot down over the Pacific, never to be seen again. But really, does it even matter what Mr. Biden puts forth? Often he clearly doesn't even know what he's saying. Same thing with Donald Trump. He's liable to say anything at any time. When he's bored, the words fly, and he's not checking Wikipedia for accuracy. But does it matter? No, it does not. Those who support Biden have to know he's way out there, but they're okay with it. His doddering does not penetrate their comfort zones. Same thing with the Don. MAGA folks are comfortable with him. Even if he became a cannibal, many would stay with him. Now, I will understand both Joe and Don are not capable of moderating their behavior. Most people aren't. Over the next 7 months, the ridiculous media will spend an enormous amount of time mocking and attacking what both presidential candidates say. But that's largely useless. We have all seen what each has done in office, and that should be what decides it in November. Actions, not words. Back after this. You can now watch new episodes of the No Spin News live on Samsung TV Plus. Tune in each weeknight at 8 p.m. on the First TV for breaking news, honest analysis, and the best election coverage in America. Please join me, Bill O'Reilly, at the First TV, now available on Samsung TV Plus. Start watching today on your Samsung television, Galaxy devices, or the Samsung TV Plus mobile app. Check out the No Spin News each weeknight at 8 p.m. on the First TV, Samsung TV Plus. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill.
Hey, Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Or on your radio.
At 1019, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion.
Welcome home.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Well, now that the high holy religious observance of the left, otherwise known as Earth Day, is over, let's get back to work trying to rebuild our economy and protect our families and our businesses from insane regulations and all the economic damage that comes with the leftist thinking there. Hey, good morning. Mike Ferguson here. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your morning. We're going to talk to Stephen Moore, former White House economic advisor, a little bit later on, right around 8:05. You don't want to miss that. Still ahead just a little bit as well. School choice. Small steps taken towards school choice. Expansion in Missouri, that's always a good thing, but it's not just a policy debate. It's not just a political position. Are we actually in the midst of a cultural shift, a cultural revolution that conservatives are actually winning people over with? And that would be education, freedom, and school choice. We've got the man himself, DeAngelis, going to be with us a little bit later on today. We had a chance to visit with our friends over at Project 21, Melanie, Collette, on Monday's show. Of course, you probably heard the Biden administration late last week. They updated the rules on Title IX And yeah, it's pretty bad. Probably as bad as you thought it would be. Here's Melanie's take on that.
Melanie, we saw the news. We knew it was coming. The Biden administration says, hey, time to update Title IX. And when you look at what changes were being made, I mean, to somebody with common sense and basic decency, this would be unheard of. But when you look at the changes that were made, Melanie, what jumps out at you the most as to what matters across the board? Because we'll get to this in a minute. This isn't just colleges and universities, by the way. Title IX affects a lot more than that. But what's the worst aspect of what you've seen from this?
No. It covers all kind of like public education areas, which is why, like, reason number 3,973 that I'm no longer a public school teacher. Like this is. Yep. But the part that really jumps out to me is the fact that gender identity is included in this. Even if you look up what qualifies as transgender on some place like WebMD. Now, maybe they changed it since the last time I looked, but I looked about 6 months ago, a year ago, and the last time I looked, transgenderism meant that you had a feeling or a sense that you were a different gender than you are biologically or physically. That is not the same as being that. Like, even WebMD, even medically, they don't say that you are that gender. They say that that's how you identify. And that is part of why this law does not make any sense. The changes that they've made to this law doesn't make any sense. I listen, I don't have good hand-eye coordination. I've never been an athlete. I don't know for myself, like, what hard work goes into being an athlete. That's one of the reasons why I'm not one. But I'm incensed for these girls. I'm incensed for women. This does not make any sense whatsoever that now, not only do you have to deal with men being in your locker room and competing against men if you want to be involved in sports, now you can't say anything about it. Otherwise, you're being a bigot, you're harassing. The definitions of harassment for liberals are very different than like a normal common sense person. Now it's harassment to say things like, well, you actually have a full-grown beard, so maybe not a girl. I don't know, you know what I mean? Oh, and like male genitalia, so maybe not a girl. Like now, if you say that, now that's illegal. Now that's considered harassment. This is what they're doing. They are, they're trying to legalize or make speech illegal, really, and things that are sex-based harassment. Now, anything having to do with sex, anything goes. It's a very debased kind of changes that they've made. It was really stunning. When I was looking the information over this morning, I was just like, this is crazy town. It's insane.
Good morning, Melanie. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So you mentioned this in your initial answer to the first question about how this applies to public schools as well, K through 12, if I'm reading that correctly, and this would go beyond just the sports teams aspect of it, right? So basically, if you got to get changed during gym class like we used to back in the day and back in my high school, and you're a teenage boy hopped up on testosterone and you decided, you know what? If I say that I feel like a girl today, maybe I can go into the girls' locker room and change with them. These Title IX changes would support that, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And the public schools have been doing this kind of thing for quite some time, making teachers, not tell parents that their kid is identifying as a completely different gender while they're in school. Like, literally, I can tell you as a former teacher, I have personally received that kind of email saying, you can't call this person by this, you have to call them by that. But when you call home, use the name that's on record. I've literally had that happen. This kind of thing has been going on for a very long time. It's completely debased. And quite honestly, from a spiritual perspective, you just can't help but look at this if you're a Christian and take a step back and look at how completely debased this is and how satanic this is. You just can't. I don't know how you can. Because basically what this Title IX law does, it says anything goes sexually and you have to accept it. Not only do you have to accept it, you have to talk about it the way we say you have to talk about it. You can't say that it's wrong. You can't have a problem with it. Otherwise, we make it illegal for you to do so. And that's a problem that goes against all the freedoms that this country is based on.
Good morning, Melanie. Stal Ponticus here. As someone who has nieces playing high school and college sports up through D1 level, let me tell you something. I have been steaming and fuming all weekend after this thing came out on Friday afternoon. And it's 15,000 pages. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. And I love how expanded protections for parenting individuals. Like, we can't even say, now we can't even say like moms and dads, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're a parenting individual. Like, this is the part that set me off when I was reading this morning. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. How am I going to survive this hit without using terrible language? Because it's just it's maddening. Greater clarity on harassment remedies. Okay, wonderful, right? So now they've more clearly defined your obligations for addressing sex-based harassment. Because now, if you say that a boy who identifies as a girl or a girl who identifies as a boy is really that's really not a thing. Like, you're really not that. Now that is considered harassment. Now that is considered discrimination. Some things are not discrimination. Like, everything is not discrimination. Some things just are what they are, and people have the right to believe what they want to believe. And I think the only remedy to this is for girls and women to bow out, unfortunately. Just like Serena Williams did. She's like, I'm not playing a man, I'm out. Just like some middle schoolers did not too long ago, because there was a kid, a dude that wanted to do the discus throw or whatever.
Shot put,
it was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want to do it. And I think I think women and girls are going to have to start saying, just no, I'm not doing it. I'm absolutely not doing it, because I don't see any other way around this. Besides the fact that women and girls are getting hurt in sports playing with boys. Boys are faster. They're stronger. They're oftentimes bigger physically. It's maddening to me to think that now being a woman has been broken down to cosmetics, whether or not you're wearing a dress and heels, where your hormonal levels are. No, it's XX and XY. That's what it comes down to, and that's why, in my opinion, that God and God's wisdom made it that way, so that at the end of the day, if you want to find out, it's the chromosomes. It's not how you feel. It's not what you want. It's not any of that stuff. And this law is like you said earlier. It's maddening. I have two nephews who are grown. I have my first niece on the way, and and she lives in California. She's going to be living in California, which makes it just worse. But I don't see how, if she is involved in any kind of sport, she survives something like this. Hopefully there'll be another administration that comes in and corrects this madness, because this is madness.
And you mentioned about girls and women bowing out of their particular sports. I think it has a very good possibility of killing most women's sports, which is unbelievable to think of all the advances that we've had since Title IX came into effect. And now this idiotic administration decides to do this, and then they want it implemented by August. You're going to give 4 months?
Right. So now when we go into the fall sports season, I guess anybody who wants to identify any way they want is going to be able to play. I want to know what you're going to do when a girl who identifies as a boy is playing football and gets seriously hurt or killed. Mm-hmm. Football is a brutal sport. Even in high school can be a brutal sport. You can get seriously hurt. What are they going to do when a girl gets killed? It's only a matter of time. And I may sound like I'm being hyperbolic here, but look at the serious injuries that girls and women have had just in this little experiment that this administration has been conducting over the last 3 or 4 years. It's crazy town.
We are visiting with Melanie Collette from Project 21. Melanie, I've just got a couple minutes left here. One of the things we mentioned a little bit earlier is that with Title IX, we think of colleges and universities. You've mentioned, no, this affects K through 12 as well. Basically, if you take $1 from the federal government, federal government, now that's an important distinction. If you take $1 from the federal government, this applies to you, which means that this is by default going to be something they're going to try to impose on every public school district in the country. And eventually, this is one of the reasons I think that a lot of people, they want to price people out of the private education so they can direct kids into this kind of indoctrination. But they've even included, as I understand it, you have to make accommodations for a pregnant person who's getting an abortion, for instance. I mean, so basically it's codifying every extremist left-wing cultural push that you can possibly do into one set of rules that certainly wasn't passed by Congress, that this is an administrative thing. And this is without a doubt not an administrative trying to be a referee and keeping everything fair and safe. This is an activist administration saying we will indoctrinate and we will by force run out people with different ideologies.
They are. That's absolutely what they're doing. And I don't think that people in general, that the general public realizes that when laws are passed, that the law is not what the issue is. The devil is always in the details, which are the regulations. And the regulatory people, the people who write these regulations, these activists, have not been elected by a single soul. Not one person voted for these people to put in these so-called regulations. So what they've done is they Frankenstein style ruined what was meant to be something as a protection for women and girls to be able to play women and girls sport with other women and girls who are similar physicality, so that they can play sports, so that they have rights to get, scholarships, and that they can get more opportunities. And what these regulations have done has completely bastardized that entire situation. It's bastardized the law. Like I said, it's Frankenstein style, screwed this law completely up. It's ridiculous.
Let's get things going with the first morning news dump of this fine Tuesday just ahead. That's coming your way in about 2 minutes and 15 seconds right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Attention farmers, is your material handling equipment coming up short in your operation? A JCB TM Series telescopic wheel loader from Sievers JCB can take your productivity to new heights. Bucket capacities range from 1 yard to 4 yards and lift heights up to 18 feet. Don't miss out on special short-term lease options and put JCB TM productivity to work on your farm for under $3,000 per month. To schedule your on-farm demo, call or visit SieversJCB.com today.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Have you noticed bad behavior has become normalized at interscholastic athletic events? Some fans seem angry. They lack civility toward one another. Some even get aggressive and unruly. Time out! What is going on? This has to stop. Let's not forget, school sports aren't just about winning. And they're definitely not an excuse to take your frustrations out on the official or the opponent. They're about teaching lessons like perseverance, respect, and empathy, so students can learn and grow as people, not just as players. We all have a role to play in setting a good example for our students and teaching them these important values. So fans, it's time to step up your game and behave positively at interscholastic athletic events in Missouri.
This message presented by the MSH SAA and the Missouri Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Speaker Tim Jones here. Make sure you listen to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show every day from 4 to 6 p.m. But right now, let's get back to our early morning media mogul, Mike Ferguson, in the morning.
Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Man, have you noticed that Earth Day is getting more expensive for taxpayers every year with this president?
No, I hadn't paid close attention, actually.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Okay.
Well, then what we should start doing is putting Earth Day on April 15th.
All right.
So that we can make a more direct connection. Or, better yet, make Tax Day Earth Day in May. Give us more time.
That may work.
Also, anti-Semitic crime. It's not just fashionable for the big cities anymore. One of the small suburbs here in the St. Louis area is seeing some of that. And should the rules change to give all you temp tag derelicts a second chance?
Well, today is Temp Tag Tuesday.
Yep. All right. It is 5:50 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. That is Stel Ponticus. All right. President Biden used Earth Day to announce new federal money for residential solar projects.
The president touted $7 billion in federal grants to help low and middle income households.
This new Solar for All program means that 900,000 households, 900,000 will have solar on the rooftops for the first time and soon.
The grant money is part of the $27 billion Green Bank created as part of the 2022 climate law. That bank has faced Republican opposition and concerns over accountability for how the money gets used. Greg Clugston, Washington.
There is no accountability for how the money gets used. They're just throwing money out willy-nilly. Sure, let's give it here, there, everywhere. The new green scam. We'll just give money to everybody.
900,000 homes getting solar on taxpayer expense.
I don't see it.
No. Oh, my goodness. But somebody will get one, and every city will have some house that gets it, and then the media is going to run and fawn over it and like, look what a great program this is.
Most definitely. Yeah. That's what we'll see.
That's what I mean when I say Earth Day is getting more expensive.
I get it now.
All right. Of course, now after announcing these solar initiatives, which the president says that's going to help fight climate change, it's not, and expand the green energy push. But Governor Doug Burgum was on Fox Business's Kudlow yesterday. He says these policies are going to do more harm than good, and the governor is basically saying that we could have an energy crisis near.
The crisis that is coming is going to be around electricity, because with the electricity, prices are up 30% under Joe Biden, but he's driving baseload down, creating artificial demand by subsidizing EV cars, and the price is going to continue to go up and the reliability is going to go down.
And U.S. Energy Information Administration says residential energy bills did go up by 2% from 2023 compared to 2022, and that's in addition to what Governor Burgum was just talking about. Overall consumption went down overall. So basically people are trying to not use a bunch of energy because we can't afford it as much.
I'll tell you what, if we have an administration change in November, I hope Doug Burgum is somewhere in the new administration.
I wouldn't be surprised
I like
if
the
he
guy.
is. Yeah, he made a really good impression in that first debate, and then, of course, Ronna McDaniel filtered him out of all the rest of them. All right, a Maplewood household dealing with repeated anti-Semitism through vandalism. The Jewish family asked not to be named in the Fox 2 story for obvious reasons, but shared video of vandals repeatedly defacing both their Israeli flag and pictures of Israeli hostages taken by Hamas. at least one arrest has been made. I'm pretty sure I know which house this is because it's not far from mine and I drive by it. Because seeing an Israeli flag in Maplewood really stands out because it's such a left-wing city that it was unusual to see somebody who supports Israel in it. So I think I know which house this is, and it does not surprise me that there's been vandalism on this. Basically what they've done is they've taken red something, dye, paint, whatever, and have defaced the pictures in the Israeli flag with the red stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. That does not surprise me that it happened in Israel. Of course, this is happening around the country here as well. That's New York City police officers arresting pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian protesters at New York University Monday night. Those protesters, in case you couldn't make that out, they were yelling "Shame on you" at police who were basically taking in those who were part of the illegal part of the protest. And then they were also yelling things like "Free, Free Palestine" and "NYPD KKK." Because the leftists are so creative at that sort of thing. But get this, Robert Kraft, he's the guy who's the owner of the New England Patriots, also an alumnus of Columbia University, and he announced that he's pulling his support from the school, pulling the money from his alma mater because of the anti-Israel protest and anti-Semitism on the campus that's been allowed to happen. The owner was on Fox's Hannity last night, says it pains him to see how bad anti-Semitism has gotten in recent years, and he says they have to do what they can to stand up against it.
We can't have this intimidation that's filtering through all these colleges and the hate continue to grow and multiply the way it is.
And these protests are now happening not just at Columbia, it's spread to MIT, to New York University, and others. And among the demands of the basically of the idiot college kids is that all these universities sever all ties to Israel, and now we've got Jewish professors and students who are being harassed and even assaulted now. This is, historically speaking, just an absolutely dangerous cultural landmine that I wish people understood in more depth.
I hope more graduates take a stand like Robert Kraft has at these various schools where they actually say, no, I'm not going to contribute anymore.
That's the way to gut punch him. It really is. Because a guy like that who probably gives them tens of millions a year.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big deal. All right. Could Temp Tag Tuesdays be put on hold? Yeah. A proposed Missouri law would give those with expired temp tags one mulligan. One mulligan. If passed, anybody with an expired tag would be allowed to get a 30-day extension and a new temp tag printed up at the DMV. After that, you'd be expected to pay the sales taxes and get real plates as normal.
Oh, boy.
What do you think? What do you think, Stel? Get a mulligan?
I don't know. The thing is, you get one mulligan, and then you start looking for more. So,
right, yeah.
I'm a bit skeptical, but all right.
We'll see what happens here. All right, the Cardinals got this series off to a good start. That's after getting swept by the Brewers at Busch Stadium. Last night, they beat the Diamondbacks at Busch. Both Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman had home runs. Yeah, Goldie Bomb. Been a while since we'd seen a Goldie Bomb. They both had home runs in the 5-3 win. Ryan Helsley picked up the win in relief. And this is one of those where Ryan Helsley only pitched one inning, but he's the pitcher of record. He gets the win. Lance Lynn, I think it was, who started that game, right?
Yes.
And he went...
Was it 4-something?
6.
Oh, did he go 6 innings?
Yeah, and he gave up the 3 earned runs, but he didn't get the win, even though he pitched more than anybody else.
So the Cardinals came. Yeah, the Cardinals came from behind. Then they were down 3-0.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
This week on News Talk STL.
I stand here.
It starts at the top. It starts with Biden.
I call on Congress to authorize this effort as soon as possible.
Israeli and American forces in the Middle East are on heightened alert after Iran vowed revenge for that Israeli airstrike.
Democrats have created a political battlefield here.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Law enforcement officers dying on his watch for being gunned down by people who have been arrested 20 times.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, I'd like you to get to know Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. Those are dentists and my dental team, along with their dental team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. You know, whether it's economic value with their dental savings plan and their real concern about giving you value, which is, of course, quality at a great price, or whether it's their personal values, their dedication to absolute precision. I can tell you when I go in and get my treatment there, or just a cleaning, whatever, it's always, I get this feeling it's like laser guided precision. Well, yeah, they have lasers, but they don't do that for everything. Of course, it's the right tool for the right job. Whether it is dental implants, whether it's just general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, and by the way, he can use some Botox in all the right ways for those applications as well. You'll find the greatest of care, the greatest value delivered with people who have real values, the values we share at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Get to know them by calling 636-978-0226, 636-978-0226, or advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomas. The anti-Israel protests that have wreaked havoc on the campus of New York's Columbia University have spread to New York University. NYU students setting up tent encampments. And as was the case at Columbia, police were allowed to intervene, arresting dozens of demonstrators. And there have been protests elsewhere, including at UC Berkeley, the University of Michigan, and at Yale University. Former President Trump's New York criminal trial resumes this morning following yesterday's opening arguments.
A prosecutor opened the historic trial by saying Trump tried to illegally influence the 2016 presidential election. Prosecutor Matthew Colangelo said actions taken to conceal payments to Stormy Daniels amounted to election fraud, pure and simple. But defense attorney Todd Blanche argued that Trump is innocent and that trying to influence an election is called democracy, not a crime. The trial could last up to 2 months. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The Senate gearing up for a vote on a $95 billion foreign aid package. House Speaker Mike Johnson has been criticized by some Republicans for relying on help from Democrats to get the package through the House. But former President Trump says he can't fault Johnson for that, given the paper-thin GOP House majority.
Well, remember, the speakership we're talking about has one, we're a majority by one vote. And you can't really get too tough.
Mr. Trump talking with AM 990, The Answer in Philadelphia. Some Republicans are outraged over approval of the big money aid package without any provisions for tightening U.S. border security. Secretary of State Blinken is heading to China tomorrow. He'll have a 3-day visit there, and a member of the European Parliament, a staff member, has been arrested, accused of spying for Communist China. Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures 86 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Has been confirmed. Those brave Americans who are trying to preserve free speech continue to be censored, shadow banned, or silenced. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to share the liberating ideas of some of America's brightest and most free thinkers. People like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry, whose ideas are putting financial control back in the hands of everyday people, helping them protect their money against a government that seems intent on destroying it. Text TRUTH to 76626 to find out more. As this election moves forward, we just released a report that reveals our 3 favorite ideas for protecting and growing your wealth during the 2024 election. These ideas are especially critical if you have an IRA or 401k. Text TRUTH to 76626. Discover ideas that are so simple and actionable they might save your retirement. Text TRUTH to 76626 now for your free report. That's TRUTH to 76626. 626. Standard text and data rate.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. Give Benjamin Schaefer a call at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Tony Colombo here, along with Tim Jones for Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen are the #1 home selling team in the area, and I could say that from personal experience. They sold our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible, which put us in a great position as we tried to find our perfect new home. And with help from the Wallners, that's exactly what we did. Christine and I couldn't be happier with our experience working with Rodney and Jen Wallner. And Tim, the numbers speak for themselves.
That's right, Tony. Everybody knows the Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. And if you're looking to sell your home, right now they have so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the St. Louis region, you can put the Wallners' experience and work ethic to work for you. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call Rodney and Jen Wallner now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Let the American people see what's going on here.
News Talk STL.
Pay close attention.
St. Louis is #1.
Bottom line is this. St. Louis is #1.
For conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up!
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Good morning to the people of St. Louis.
All right, in America, you notice that we have levels of being an adult.
We do.
Yeah, we have
multiple stages.
Should we raise the age for one of those levels? That is proposed in the Missouri legislature. I'll explain what that means here in just a second. Also, stop me if you heard this one before, guys.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Illinois lawmakers are thinking about making it harder for some businesses to survive.
Oh, okay.
Stop right there.
Yeah. You've heard this one before. Yeah. All right, I'm going to explain the newest idea at 6:20, and I'll be really curious, Del, your take on this,
All right.
since you know the industry that we'll be talking about here.
Oh, okay.
And I just rolled over the cord of my headphones. Okay, sorry about that. A little behind-the-scenes action you didn't need. Okay, I mentioned this in the news dump just a little bit ago. Anti-Semitism in Maplewood.
Yep.
Does not surprise me.
No, of course not.
It's a very left-wing suburb, very left-wing town.
And the left has pretty much embraced anti-Semitism at this point.
And so Channel 2 had the story, and they did not show where the house is and did not name the family who lives there for obvious reasons. I'm pretty sure I know which house this is because it's not far from mine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm in Richmond Heights, and I pass this going down to some of the restaurants that I go to in Maplewood. There's 3 or 4 that Rachel and I really like down there. And so I was mentioning to Stell a little bit ago that when I'm driving past this house, it was actually just about a week ago or so, they've got the big Israeli flag out front. And I even mentioned to Rachel, I said, wow, I'm kind of surprised that flag is still up.
Right.
And so what's happened is somebody multiple times has taken some kind of, whether it's a red paint or dye or powder, whatever it is, and defacing the Israeli flag. And then they've got a bunch of pictures up of the Israeli hostages taken by the Hamas terrorists, the Palestinian terrorists.
Right.
And it sticks out in Maplewood, like I said, because it is such a left-wing community. You're not going to see very much support for Israel. And then when I saw that they had pictures of the hostages up, I'm like, yep, I know exactly which house this is. But the story there, which quoted the people who live there, the family who lives there, it's a Jewish family, and they've said we don't feel safe You know, they said, but since word's gotten out about this, people have been like sending them Jewish flags. It's like, okay,
there you go.
When they deface the next one, just put this next one up, and that's what they're doing.
All right.
So hopefully this is not something that escalates into something more dangerous.
Right.
Police say they have made one arrest, but there's no word on who the suspect is.
Okay. So yeah, it's sad that this is where we are. Do they have cameras? I mean, you'd think, yeah.
Yes.
So
that's how they got the arrest.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's right. That makes sense. So I'm glad whoever's been out there doing that stuff is potentially going to face some consequence, because I think part of this thing is that people aren't paying a price for their anti-Semitism right now in America. But it is definitely sad to see that rise and an entire political movement just fully embrace it and be proudly so.
Yeah. Now this one right here, have you noticed I've taken a different tone than what we hear other stories coming out of like Webster and Maplewood and some of the others? It's like there was a hate crime against the LGBT flags in the church. You've noticed I've because of those I went, I don't know about those. Yeah. And this one I'm like, no, I believe it right on its face.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, this is pretty obvious.
Very obvious. One, because in the other ones, they rush to the media and call the media. It's like, come do a story. Somebody knocked over a rainbow thing in front of our church that worships something. I don't know what. Rainbows. And then, of course, they're using all this hyperbolic language. And in here, you've got a family that says, please don't tell everybody where we are. I'll talk to you, but please don't tell me. Please don't list our name.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep putting the flag up. And they didn't go hyperbolic. That's why I'm going, yeah, I believe that one actually is happening.
There's a couple houses on the hill that we drive by, especially when I go to Di Gregorio's and Viviano's and, some of the other places
Viviano's. Anyway,
and Zia's. There are a couple homes that display Israeli flags, and I have not been by there in the last month or so. Now I'm kind of curious to drive by just to see if they've got them up, and
see how
if somebody's
doing.
outside, I'd say, hey, we support you, and see how things go there.
Yeah. So, but that's where it is. Hopefully whoever's arrested does, like you said, Gabe, get full consequences for it. So, okay. If you notice, we have different levels of being an adult in America. You can be charged as an adult with a crime at 14 or 15 years old.
Right.
Pretty
early.
You can vote. You can sign up for the military.
We've stopped even talking about the ability to operate a motor vehicle.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Operate a motor vehicle.
Which is pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, really. There's a lot of decision making that goes into doing that.
Yeah, as 16.
Yep.
And then at 18, then you're legally considered an adult.
Right. So you can sign contracts and
my wife's older son just bought a house at 19.
Yeah. See what's funny is that is his contemporaries are signing up for basically the same amount of money obligation, except it's for a college education that's essentially worthless.
Right.
But he actually has real property. So.
Yes. He absolutely purchased a house, which is the number one wealth building tool in America is home ownership. And so he's 19 and he just bought a house.
Pretty awesome.
And so at 21, you can buy alcohol.
Yes. Right.
Okay, so there's a bill in the Missouri legislature. St. Louis County State Rep Brad Christ is sponsoring this one, and it would make it 21 to buy tobacco products as well. Some states, I think it is 21. Some cities, I think it's 21.
Right.
But statewide, it's 18. So you can you can't buy the booze until 21, but you can buy the smokes at 18. You can sign up for the military. You had a really good line right as we were heading into the segment. It's like, okay, so my wife's older son, Asher, he can buy his house at 19,
right?
But he's not allowed to celebrate with a shot or with champagne
exactly.
or with a beer for a couple more years.
You're not allowed to do that.
No, he's not allowed to do that.
It's kind of funny.
He actually won't do that. That's not his thing. But
Right.
He could buy a pack of smokes if he wanted to stink up his house, which he does not.
That's true. Yeah, he could buy a pack of smokes, go gamble, and go shoot guns someplace, and all that would be cool, but not the not the alcohol.
So here's our two questions. Should we just have one line of demarcation? You are an adult at this line, because it seems weird to me that you can sign a contract, you can join the military, you can buy a house, at 18, but you can't choose a vice. You can't gamble.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, do those things. And so if there is one line that we're going to have to say, you're an adult, you're responsible for your actions, where is it?
And I have a very unpopular opinion.
Unpopular opinion. All right, here we go.
Everybody buckle up.
All right.
Get your typing fingers ready. If you're on Rumble, get your phone.
Oh, and voting
primed.
at 18.
Yeah, that's right. Voting is also at 18.
Yeah.
Get ready to respond and yell at me, I'm sure. But I think the age of majority should be 25.
Wow, you want to jack it up even further?
I think it should be 25. And here's my reaning, and it's only a matter of absolute consistency with some sort of scientific basis, because I have a math fetish, arithmomania.
Okay,
arithmomania sounds better. Should we just put it that way?
Love numbers, but. Technically, the brain does not mature in adult human beings until about the age of 25. And so if we're to say, well, all these things are based on your ability, your ingrained ability, your developmental ability to make solid determinations about reality, then having a solid demarcation at brain maturity seems to be the most consistent way to make that to set that line. That's the only reason why I'm thinking 25. Also, probably because I know some really, really dumb 24-year-olds, but
I know some dumb 40-year-olds.
But then there's that. Then there's that. So, but yeah. So at me at John Philosopher on Twitter.
Wow, that's interesting to push it up to 25.
Yeah,
okay. Because Mike, like you say, I can think of some 40-year-olds. Actually, I can think of some 50-year-olds who would fall into that category.
And the nation's founders were like in their 20s when they did it.
I know. And in World War II, you've got guys who were, 16, lying about their age and bringing in fake birth certificates so they could go sign up and serve. And then they came back and started businesses, after 2 or 3 years in the service. Were the brains not developed then either? Or have we slowed down the development with all the junk in our ingesting?
I do wonder if there is an environmental impact to certain things, because the thing is, back in the day when kids were getting their trade and having kids at like 13 and stuff like that, it was just a matter of survival. You had to make good decisions or you died. So all of the people who were incapable of making good decisions before their brains were mature at 13, they died. They didn't procreate, and their genes are gone from the gene pool. So I don't know. Maybe things are different now just because our environment is so coddling to people, and the actual brain maturity doesn't really set in until late. But I interrupted you, Sal. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's an interesting thought. I hadn't really contemplated 25 or anything above 21. So I'm willing to think about it.
Sure, yeah.
All right, 314-912-1019. All right, just ahead here, Illinois lawmakers are thinking about a plan that would make it harder and more expensive to run maybe one of the most common types of businesses anywhere in the country. It's for the workers. And even the workers are going, hey, stop protecting me to death here. Please.
Stop helping.
I'll explain what they've come up with in the wild, wacky world of Illinois.
You know what, Gabe? The other thing is, I'll just toss this in quickly, to change it to 25. Maybe the other thing for me is I've never contemplated smoking at all.
Yeah.
It was never something that I even considered.
Same.
So same thing with drinking for me. So, changing the drinking age.
Yeah.
I don't know what changes that might cause.
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of weird things.
Sociologically.
There's all kinds of weird things to think about.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll think about them right now.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A combat veteran with 2 bronze medals, a father of 4, and a constitutional conservative powerhouse. Come and hear Attorney General Andrew Bailey up close and in person. Picture this, the crowd's buzzing, vibes electric, as he steps up to bat on Thursday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. He hit a home run with removing a failed circuit attorney and continues to fight for law and order like no other. Put May 2nd on your calendar now and go to stlouisrepublicans.com for details.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Man, what a great party you're throwing here. This wasp nest is great.
Yeah, man, we got about 70 wasps in here.
Too bad we can't fit any more wasps in here. It looks like they're having fun outside, stinging all the kids. Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Dreaming of upgrading your outdoor space? STL Fenceworks is the choice for you. Our skilled craftsmen build custom fences from modern vinyl to classic ornamental, fitting your style and budget. Elevate your outdoor living with low-maintenance decks designed to relax and entertain. We choose only top-quality American-made materials, ensuring your project is built to last. Your satisfaction is our passion. With over 50 years of experience, custom designs, and exceptional customer service, visit stlfenceworks.com today.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo with a great offer from the cleaning pros at Zero Res. So many of us are suffering from allergies right now. It's time to get your home clean and healthy, and Zero Res is here to help. Book a cleaning in April and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. Get the jump on spring cleaning now. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
After midnight, we're gonna let it all
All right, Goat Lady's on board with what you were saying.
Oh wow, really?
She's not gonna hammer you on that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Right.
What'd she say?
She says kids now are not prepared at 18 or 21 to deal with real life.
Yeah. Now, here's a question that, kind of back to the environmental question: is our education system stunting brain development?
Yes. Yes.
And the development of many other things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're right.
Social, moral development, as we see on college campuses.
Creating mashed potato brains.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Exactly.
Commie mashed potato brains.
Pretty much, yep. All right. Let's see here. Some Illinois lawmakers are thinking about making it more expensive to run restaurants.
Speaking of commie mashed potato brains.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. What I'm supposed to say is some Illinois lawmakers are fighting for a living wage for oppressed workers.
Oh, okay. All right. I got you.
That's better.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah. That's how they sold it in California, right?
Yeah. All right. Another Missouri city says, bring on the illegals to the Show Me State. Tim Jones has some thoughts about that. We're going to hear them at 6:35. He's going to be with us here. All right. 6:21 right now. I'm like, all right. So here's what's going on. There's a bill that's proposed in Illinois, and it is, if you want to look this kind of stuff up, House Bill 5345. But what it actually would do is make the state's minimum wage the minimum wage for tipped workers
in Illinois.
So here's what's going on: is that in Illinois the minimum wage is $14 an hour.
Okay,
across the state.
It's already a bit high.
Yeah. But if you are in a tipped job, you're a waiter, you're a waitress, you're a bartender, you're whatever.
Tip jobs seem to be expanding too,
Oh,
so that's a whole other.
Listen, okay, I'm going to rant for a second here. Okay,
Here we go. Go on the audible.
Let me tell you something here. You go to the coffee shop and they've got a tip jar. That's not a tipped employee. They're getting paid the full whatever the hourly is thing here. Yeah, the tip culture is going nuts. Somebody delivers a service. That's what it's for.
Right.
So tip your
Uber
driver well, tip your delivery person well, tip your waiter or your waitress well. But yeah, when somebody just pulls the handle and the coffee comes out, literally gravity's doing their job for them.
Or if you walked my food from the window behind you to the counter in front of you.
Yes.
I don't feel the need to drop like $15
Right.
extra for you.
Or someone put your groceries in a bag, and they kind of give you the look
Oh,
as though
yeah.
I'm supposed to give them something.
At the end of the supermarket line?
Exactly.
Are they doing that now?
Yeah, well, the look that I got
Oh, no.
kind of intimated as though you're going to give me a buck or something. Or
Yeah.
Wow.
The answer is
No,
no.
I'm not going to give you anything. This
Clearly
is part of
no.
your job.
Oh, my gosh.
It's literally what you're being paid for.
Man, just because I asked you for a paper bag instead of plastic, and then you had to look for 10 seconds to find a paper bag.
Okay, because like for instance, I think the best example of where this is being pushed is obviously a Starbucks or a Breadco.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they've got thing. Would you like to leave a tip? For what?
No.
No.
Pouring coffee isn't hard.
No, it's not. But in this bill, a state representative named Lisa Hernandez, you're going to be surprised to know she's a Democrat.
Oh, gosh.
And
Shocking.
So what would happen is under this proposed law, right now, like let me back up just a little bit. Right now, as I said, the minimum wage in Illinois is $14 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are in a tipped job, then you get $8.40 an hour. And if at any point at the end of the day, your tips don't make it so that you made $14 an hour, then your boss has to make up the difference. So you're still guaranteed $14 an hour, no matter what.
Okay.
But this law would get rid of that $8.40 an hour for tipped employees and just make the minimum wage $14 an hour, and then whatever you get on tips on top of that.
You get tips on top. Okay, so the boss has to come up with that.
Right, they would have to pay you the same amount as anybody else.
Right.
Because the thing is that when you go into that tip job, you're counting on the tips.
Right.
My daughter runs a lounge bar. She makes more money than I do off of tips.
Yeah.
And the interesting,
Well, it's because we don't tip you after the show.
That's true.
Which maybe we should do.
And
he had a jar.
I'm gonna put a jar up here.
Mike, you need a cuss jar. That's what you need.
I know. I want to do a poll here.
We're all over the place.
I got 3 hours of sleep.
You got
last
sleep
night.
brain right
I
now,
got
so you're
sleep brain
everywhere.
right now.
I'm sorry.
I want to do a poll. Who at the radio station is going to be the first one to either require the dump button or actually get us in trouble by cussing? Who's it going to be? Who do you think would be the first one at the station to actually slip up and say it?
Vic.
See, I think that's a good guess. That's not my guess.
No?
But that's a really good
Really?
guess. Who do you
Mine
think?
would have been Rob Carter.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
Vic is a good guess.
Vic's a very good guess, but see, I thought just Tony would be the one.
Oh.
But Vic
I don't
would
know.
be a good guess.
Tony's been working at it so hard
Has he?
forever.
Okay.
But yes, he's got a lot.
All right. Focus.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
Goat Lady
Sorry.
says Vic is my guess. That's
Yes.
a good guess.
Yeah,
It is.
it is a good guess.
That's one of those that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing on this. So interestingly, obviously the restaurant owners are saying, "Are you out of your mind?"
Right.
You know,
You're going to completely upset my
you're
business.
completely upset the business. And many of the waiters, waitresses, bartenders are going, "Hey, knock it off."
Trying to flag him down.
You know,
Excuse me.
because what's going to happen, Stel? I mean, your family, you know, obviously intimate knowledge of the restaurant and service industry here. If the law comes in and they say you've got to pay a full-on $14 an hour minimum wage, and then they get to keep whatever tips they've got on top of that. Now, listen, I don't know any business owners who have any issue. They want their workers to make a lot of money in tips. They want that. And the ones who work really hard and are really good can make a lot of money in tips on this. So from the business owner's perspective, you're in Illinois, you hear lawmakers talking about this saying it's for a living wage. We got to guarantee that minimum wage.
You know, I looked up Miss Hernandez. She's based out of Cicero,
Yeah.
which is in the Chicago area.
Oh, there's a shock.
So I'm not shocked that she would be coming up with this idea. And having grown up in the restaurant business, the margin is so small.
Yep.
It's kind of like the grocery business. I don't know if the margin's above 1%. It might be a 0.5 to 1.5% margin.
Yep.
You barely make a profit. I still have cousins in the business down in Dallas-Fort Worth. If you go down there, Scotty P's Restaurants, it's a chain of 5 restaurants in Frisco and McKinley and some of the other cities around Dallas-Fort Worth. I see posts from Scott maybe once a month or so complaining about issues just like this. You know, I want to see my employees paid well, but man, I'm getting screwed by the guy who's in the capital there in Texas, in Austin, I guess. coming out with these new rules that I've got to deal with on a daily basis, and it makes it so difficult for him to make any type of profit. And he wants to see his employees paid well.
So you're seeing, and the whole thing where you get like 50-ish% of the actual minimum wage, that's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I waited tables when I was in college, I think my hourly rate was like $2.30 or something like that. Literally, it was like $2 or $3 an hour. But I made up for it on the tips, and I didn't care.
Right.
I mean, when I got the paycheck at the end of the pay period, I mean, it was just kind of a little extra. Oh yeah, I'll go out to eat. I forgot about that, because that's not the nature of the work. And so what you have here is government saying, you know what we have to do is micromanage businesses, somehow thinking this isn't going to affect business. It's not going to affect customers. It's not going to affect the dynamics of the business. You know, in other countries, a waiter, a waitress, a server, they make a full salary like everybody else, and tipping is not something that happens. You go to some European countries, and we ugly Americans decide we're going to leave a tip. They will actually, no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm already paid for this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happens here.
No.
And if there are people who want to get rid of tipped work, but if you do that, what kind of service are you going to get? I mean, you know, I made pretty good money in college when I would work a waiter job because I busted my butt and I made sure that I was out competing the other servers so that I made more money. I picked out which tables I knew were going to give me a good tip. I worked it as hard. If I identified the ones that weren't going to give me a good tip, they got the minimum.
I imagine it's easier to go from a non-tipping environment to a tipping environment than it is to go the other direction. So trying to pull America out of a tipping situation for servers, I think it won't work. and I expect everybody to suffer. Customers, the workers, the owners, everybody's going to suffer.
You know, the funny thing for me is, having grown up in the business, this is back when I was 9, 10, 11 years old. Folks would leave me tips.
Yeah.
So you're right, Gabe. It's ingrained in our society. So I don't know how we would try to make any changes.
Yeah, Goat Lady again says bartenders and waitstaff make way more than minimum wage, but they keep as much of that hidden as possible to avoid taxes. Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to bring tipping stuff above board so they can tax the crap out of it. That's what the politicians are up to.
Yeah.
So those IRS guys have something to do.
Yeah,
you
got
those 87,000 of them. Yeah. Yeah. And I say, good. They give you cash, put it right in your pocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell no one.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
4:20, we'll speak with David Stokes on those dreaded red light cameras making a comeback. And at 5:20, Dr. Randy Tobler on Planned Parenthood appealing a court ruling on transgender care.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
St. Louis is proud to be a baseball town and more recently a soccer town. On Friday, May 3rd, the Birds on the Bat host the Chicago White Sox. And that night, 25,000 fans 16 and older will take home a Cardinals soccer jersey presented by Purina. That's Friday, May 3rd, the Cardinals, the White Sox, and the exclusive soccer jersey giveaway. For tickets or more info, visit cardinals.com/promotion.
This is Giovanni Gallegos. Get your tickets at cardinals.com.
Calling all bobblehead collectors and animal lovers. This is one you won't want to miss. Join us at the ballpark on Saturday, May 4th, when the Cardinals host the Chicago White Sox and the 19th annual Purina Pooches in the ballpark. That day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will receive a bobblehead of Adam Wainwright with his lovable retirement gift, his new pup Louie, courtesy of Purina. For full details, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Adam Wainwright, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
John Beal knows that new roofing companies can look big and trustworthy on the internet, but the fact is 96% of new roofing companies go out of business within the first 5 years. John Beal has a reputation for excellence, reliability, plus lowest cost, best roof, best guarantee. Those here today, gone tomorrow roofers, they can't match John Beal. For home or business, trust my friend John. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Are you fed up with paying too much for lightning-fast doctor visits with too little information? Well, I was too, and decided to create an alternative. Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler here, asking you to take a look at no copay, no deductible visits with me and my team. That's Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Let's face it, the system's broken. No respect for your money or your time. So learn about a better way for your primary care. Schedule your discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com, shepherding you to medical freedom.
What happens next?
President Biden may change his policy toward Israel.
Happens right here.
Obviously, Netanyahu is sending a very firm message over the call.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
All right, another mayor says, bring on the illegals. I think I'm supposed to say migrants.
No, it's illegal.
Being the responsible media professional that I am.
The aliens, yes, the
There you
illegal
go.
aliens.
Yeah.
Since Neighbors is now
That's right,
out of favor.
newcomers.
Newcomers, that's it. That's it, newcomers.
Our migrant newcomers.
All right, News Talk STL. Don't forget our streaming audio and our app. I mean, that's where it's at. It's amazing how many people are listening on our app right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take us anywhere. It's free, very little memory. Just download it, whatever your Android or your iPhone or on your, if you got a brand new car, you can probably download the app right on that as well. So check out newstalkstl.com for more information, or just look it up in the App Store, whatever your App Store is. All right, it is 6:34 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. We've got Gabe Pfeiffer here. We got Stella Pontigas here. And every afternoon right here on News Talk STL, you can listen to the former Speaker of the House himself, Tim Jones, along with Chris Arps, keeping track of what's happening in Missouri and around the country. And Tim joins us right now. And Tim, we have actually have not talked about this yet on our show. I don't know if you and Chris have or not. But the Kansas City mayor, Quentin Lucas, he's basically saying, what? Illegals? Yeah, bring them on. Bring them here. Bring them to Kansas City. Bring them to Missouri. We need the workers. And that is not sitting well, both locally in Kansas City and statewide as well. What is it that Quentin's actually calling for?
Well, good morning, Mike, Gabe, and Stell. Thanks for having me again. I guess that Quentin Lucas is summoning Forrest Gump here because stupid is as stupid does, right? I mean, all he has to do is look at, I'm sure he speaks to his fellow mayors, right? I'm sure they go to mayor conferences and things all the time throughout the years. Isn't he hearing from Eric Adams and who's up in Chicago there? Let's go, Brandon. Brandon James and
Johnson, isn't it?
Johnson. And some of the others around the country as to what they're dealing with. They're dealing with catastrophes. They're dealing with chaos. They're dealing with crises. And I, for one, am going to be nowhere near Stell's homeland in August when they have that Democratic convention up there because I'm not wishing anything on Chicago, but I think they're going to get what they've asked for. And you can just tell with all the men and women on the street interviews that all of the networks have been doing lately that Chicagoans, and I don't think many in the inner urban areas of Chicago are MAGA hat wearing extremists, despite what Juicy Smollett used to say. I think that Democrats within the Democratic Party are upset at this policy. So forget about Republicans and conservatives. I think Democrats are finally speaking up, and a lot of these mayors are saying, well, apparently Quentin Lucas isn't paying attention or has been living under a rock or has just got back from Mars or something because he's saying welcome them all in. Now, here's the thing. have you all noticed that despite the fact that a lot of other similarly situated states, Illinois, here in the Midwest, have had this massive crisis dealing with illegal aliens? That's the proper terminology. Yes, Mike, by the way.
Legal.
It is over the last few years, and in Missouri hasn't. Well, that is because I would argue of the leadership of former State Senator Bob Onder, now running for Congress in the 3rd Congressional. Back in 2006, when Bob and I were first elected to the House, one of the first initiatives that he helped pick up and pass on the House side as a freshman was a very far-reaching, forward-thinking bill dealing with illegal immigration. Yes, all the way back in 2007 and 2008, Missouri legislators were at the tip of the spear. We saw the storm clouds on the horizon. Guess what we were called? Well, we were called crazy, tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists. We were called xenophobic, white Christian nationalists, blah, blah, blah. Well, turns out, you know what we should have been called? We were prophetic and absolutely right. So Missouri doesn't have the problems that several other similarly situated states here in the Midwest, like Illinois, have yet. And I think that's because I would argue it's because of the legislation we passed back then. Now, nothing can protect us, going back to where I started, nothing can protect us with these mayors who want to be stupid is as stupid does, right? And so if they like Tashara Jones signaled a few weeks ago here in St. Louis, well, just bring them on in, then the legislature may have to react, dust off that bill from, my goodness, 16, 17 years ago now, make sure it's still all up to snuff, and continue to make sure that, Missouri cities cannot be sanctuary cities. They cannot just willy-nilly break the law, and they have to abide by federal law even when the occupants of the White House refuse to do so.
So, Tim, isn't the Missouri Attorney General trying to get a law passed to keep illegal aliens out of Missouri?
Yeah, I think, like I said, he probably, when that law I'm referring to was passed 17, 18 years ago, I don't think anyone ever, obviously we saw the coming crisis, but not to this level, right? I mean, remember when during the Obama administration, I think the Homeland Security fella back then was a guy named Jay Johnson. Remember when he said that, it was some really kind of cute little number now when you think back on it. He said something like 300,000 or 400,000 illegals a day would be considered a crisis. We have millions and millions a year now coming across our southern border. So the numbers are beyond where even when sane Democrats used to be in the White House, what they thought was going to be a problem. So still, we're going to have to make sure that our laws are up to snuff, like I said. And if the Attorney General has some fixes and some updates for that, I think the legislature needs to give it a hard look, because, look, every state's a border state now. It's all around us. Again, I think Missouri's not experiencing the kind of chaos that many other states are because of the current laws we have on the books. But you give the left the eye of a needle, and they will drive a fleet of semis through it. So you always got to make sure that your laws can take care of the loopholes that the Democrats constantly invent.
Hey, Tim, we've been seeing around the country, particularly in these deep blue areas like New York City and Chicago, a groundswell of local anger at what's been going on with illegals, the use of local dollars to house and feed all these people coming out from all over the world. And yet, the people who are there and they're suffering, they're like, wait a second, those are our tax dollars. What's happening? Why haven't we seen any of this money? So I keep seeing the reaction, but I'm very skeptical as to whether or not this will result in any sort of political change. What are you seeing on the ground there?
Yeah, Gabe, I think it is. I think it is happening. And my co-host Chris Arps, he reported on this yesterday as part of, we each do a little monologue during the show. He does Chris's Corner, and I do the Speaker Stump speech. And we focus on a particular topic, and then we comment on it with producer Joey after we're done. Chris focused, and he's been really watching this, Gabe, as I'm sure you are as well. It affects you all directly, and what you were all told and taught growing up. And Chris reported that Democratic support amongst minorities is dropping like a rock, like it's never done before in our nation's history. It's exactly because of, Gabe, of what you just said. Democrats like to use minorities I don't know, every 4 years or so when something called a national election rolls around. And, in today's age of nonstop news, the 24/7 news cycle, social media, flooding us, relentlessly, a lot of that's bad. But the good part of it is people are now exposed to things that the Uniparty, the Democrats, the left, their willing enablers in the media used to love to try to hide or like to spin the narrative a different way. Now, when you've got all these other sources like News Talk STL, the truth, as Mulder used to say, is out there, and you can find it. You can see it. A lot of when CNN and MSNBC are parroting the talking points from the White House that there is no border crisis, and Fox News and Newsmax and other networks and independent journalists are down there flying drones over the Rio Grande and showing the literal invasion before your very eyes, Americans get to decide which truth they want to believe. And the truth is, Gabe, yes, the Democratic Party is turning it. Well, they've always turned their backs on interurban America. They've only utilized them every 4 years for elections. And people are now figuring that out. That is why amongst Black Americans, support for Joe Biden is down nearly 25%. Hispanic Americans, it's even higher. And as Chris reported yesterday, amongst Asian Americans, support is slipping. So that's why Joe Biden is needing to import a whole new class of voters. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. He just needs new people to try to fool, right? It seems that whereas illegal immigrants, no matter who they are, my family, half my family's Italian. When the Italians first came to this country decades ago, they voted Democrat. Well, all of my grandfathers, successive generations are now voting Republican. People eventually figure out that party uses you for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to stay in power. And yes, all of these voters that the Democrats take for granted every 4 years, they're figuring out that that's exactly what the Democratic Party utilizes them for, nothing else, because you can't spread the wealth and redistribute is a better word. You can't redistribute the wealth as far and wide as the Democratic Party has done to all of their intersectional different classes and expect to keep everyone happy, because despite what they want to tell you, money doesn't grow on trees, and eventually you have to stop the printing presses in China.
All right, we're visiting with Tim Jones, co-host of the afternoon show here on News Talk STL. Tim, I just got a minute or two left here. You're also the coordinator of the Freedom Caucus in Missouri. How will Republican leadership undermine initiative petition reform this week? What's the latest on that? Well, notice I didn't say, well, how are the Republicans? How is leadership going to undermine it?
I completely agree with you. And Mike, I appreciate all of the attention you have paid for this, you and Gabe and stuff, throughout the last 4 months, because you know what? Let me first say this. We were all right. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say I told you so, because I have friends who are state senators who had chairmanship stripped away, parking spots removed, staff salary slashed because they were trying to move initiative petition reform in January. Remember what we were told? Oh, why are you doing that? Why are you filibustering in January? Why are you all upset? Why are you all yelling, screaming? You all need to sit down. We're going to wrap your knuckles. We're going to take away your chairmanships. Well, here we are. We're 3.5 weeks from the end of session, and guess what hasn't passed? Initiative petition reform. It's only this far, and it's further now than it has been in the last several years. It's only this far because of the actions of the Missouri Freedom Caucus, because the Missouri Freedom Caucus noticed in mid to late January, the IP reform bills are not moving out of the Senate. Why is that so? And guys, it has been a slog all the way through Freedom Caucus members and their conservative allies in the Senate. And then in the House had to throw down with the majority leader, John Patterson, last week, because he indicated that he was going to slow it down and stop it there. So, fellas, I don't know why so-called Republican leadership has been hell-bent on slowing down and trying to kill IP reform once again, but they have been. That is the God's honest truth. There are really nefarious forces outside of the building, rent-a-Republican consultants, major left-leaning billionaire donors like the Arnold Foundation in Texas, who have infiltrated the state of Missouri. And that is not a conspiracy theory. The Arnold Foundation... Look up John and Laura Arnold. John and Laura Arnold. He's a former Enron executive, and he has already spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars on rent-a-Republican consultants to try to get ranked choice voting passed one election cycle ago. It failed, thank goodness, but they don't want IP reform. They don't want that process adjusted because they want to use it to run around the legislature willy-nilly. So that's what's really going on. That's why leadership has slow walked and has tried to kill this. We believe, I'll believe it when I see it. We believe that John Patterson has felt the pressure and is going to move the bill out of the House, potentially even today or tomorrow. So we'll keep a close eye on SJR 74. In the meantime, you can all call your state representatives. You can call Majority Leader John Patterson's office and tell him to keep SJR 74 as amended, moving out of the House back to the Senate. Then it's going to need one more vote in the Senate, and I'm telling you, that is going to be the showdown at the OK Corral, getting that finally across the finish line and to the voters.
All right, Tim Jones from the afternoon show, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day here on News Talk STL. Thanks, Tim. We'll be listening for whatever happens today.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, gang. Thanks for having me.
All right, 314-912-1019. Let's dump some news on you here. I hear the Arnold Foundation has a habit of having legislative leaders at golfing outlets.
Oh, really?
Outings
Huh.
there. Yeah. I wouldn't know who to
Interesting.
ask about that, of course.
Yeah.
Definitely not anybody who's in the Senate leadership.
Of course
from Boone
not.
County.
Mhm.
All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson in the morning. St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Looking to get a new carpet, hardwood, or tile installed quickly and efficiently in your home? Look no further than Michael's Flooring Outlet. Michael's Flooring Outlet is a family-owned and operated business with a 30-year history of offering a diverse array of high-quality options in flooring. My parents and in-laws used Michaels to rip up their old carpet and replace it, and they are both happy with the product and installation from Michaels. You can shop at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Darting Prairie, or St. Peters, or you can check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's The Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news. The morning news dump.
I'm only dysfunctional because I've had 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, that's a large contributing factor.
That's right. All right, who's allowed to own farmland in Missouri? That's up for debate now. Senator Bill Eigel has something to say about that. We're going to hear from him at 7:05. Let's dump some news on you. Earth Day getting more expensive for taxpayers every year with this president. Anti-Semitic crime, not just fashionable in the big cities anymore. And should the rules change to give all of you temp tag derelicts a second chance?
Oh, here we go with the temp tags again.
Yeah,
it is Temp Tag Tuesday.
Amen, brother.
All right, President Biden using Earth Day to announce new federal money for residential solar projects, because why not?
The president touted $7 billion in federal grants to help low and middle income households.
This new Solar for All program means that 900,000 households, 900,000, will have solar on the rooftops for the first time, and soon.
The grant money is part of the $27 billion Green Bank created as part of the 2022 climate law. That bank has faced Republican opposition and concerns over accountability for how the money gets used. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Solar for all. Gabe, do you happen to have any thoughts about this?
It's like, hey, happy Earth Day. Give me your money. That's basically
I'm just going to take your money.
Yes, we're going to take your money. We're going to burn it. and then that will make the Earth happy, because you have to make your sacrifices to Gaia somehow, right?
Yeah.
So, my goodness. Look, as a capitalist, I hate this, but also as a capitalist, I'm thinking I need to get into the solar panel installation business.
There you go.
Because it's basically just free. You go to somebody's house and you say, hell, I'll give you some free solar panels. You just have to sign this form, and then you get the government to pay for it.
North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum was on Fox Business's Kudlow yesterday, and he says, yeah, these policies, because you heard the president saying 900,000 homes with solar energy or solar power are going to be on them. He's saying this is going to do more harm than good, and we could be on the cusp of an energy crisis.
The crisis that is coming is going to be around electricity, because with the electricity, prices are up 30% under Joe Biden, but he's driving baseload down, creating artificial demand by subsidizing EV cars, and the price is going to continue to go up and the reliability is going to go down.
Yeah, and of course, remember, when government decides it's going to be the guarantor, and in this case, he's like 900,000 homes, $7 billion to help pay for all this. What happened to the cost of college when the government decided that it was going to do this essential thing and pay for it all?
Whoop!
Straight up.
And it's there's no end in sight, actually.
No. This is so ridiculous. All right. And by the way, and if the market develops a solar panel that is so efficient and long lasting that people want to pay for it and they're going to save money, I'm all for it.
Yes.
I would put one on our roof, but my wife loves our new roofing that we just
you don't cover that up.
So we'd put it somewhere. I mean, I'm all for the market solving the problem, and I think renewable energy should absolutely be part of the basket of energy that we get to. It's just not there yet. You try to force it without a market demand.
It's so stupid.
All right. This is what's happening in New York these days. All right, New York City police officers arresting pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian protesters. That audio is from New York University's protest Monday night. The protesters were yelling, "Shame on you," at police who were arresting those who were getting out of line. Protesters also yelling things like "Free, free Palestine" and "NYPD KKK" at officers because they're so clever, those smart kids.
Bring back the fire hoses.
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now. I want to see a giant truck with a fire hose mounted on top like a turret, just blasting these little kids along the street into a pen where they can put them in jail for a little bit of time so they can think about what they've done.
So we've got Columbia University, we've got New York University, and now your alma mater, MIT, is seeing that happen as well.
Another reason I don't give them money anymore.
That's you there and still at SLU. All right, Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, he's also an alumnus of Columbia, and he says he's pulling his support from the school because of all the recent anti-Semitism protests and the university's refusal to do much of anything about it. He was on Fox's Hannity last night. He says it pains him to see how bad anti-Semitism has gotten in recent years, but you have to stand up to it.
We can't have this intimidation that's filtering through all these colleges and the hate continue to grow and multiply the way it is.
And of course, the protesters are demanding that the universities sever all ties with Israel. Cardinals did a walk-off last night. They got the series off to a good start, beating the Diamondbacks at Busch Stadium. Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman, both had dingers.
Great to see it come from behind win.
Yep.
Do you have a house that you've been thinking about selling, but maybe it needs a lot of work and you want to sell it in as-is condition? 314-417-1000. My name's Chad with Clayman Real Estate, where we've had a family business for over 90 years, and we buy houses direct from the seller with no middleman involved. 314-417-1000. We recently just bought a house from a nice person who had been in her house for over 30 years. Quite frankly, she wasn't excited about letting a bunch of people in the house, and she wasn't as proud of the house as she once was, and she was ready to sell. We came in and we made her an as-is offer with no repairs and no agency involved. It was just a one-time walkthrough. If you're in that situation and you have a house that you're thinking about selling in as-is condition and want a simple solution, reach out. 314-417-1000. 314-417-1000. Reach out to Clayman Real Estate today, and we will provide you with an as-is, simple solution to your real estate issue.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomas. A billion here, a billion there. We're talking about some real money in that foreign aid bill soon to be voted on by the Senate after clearing the House earlier.
$61 billion would be for Ukraine. $26 billion would go to Israel, as well as humanitarian relief to citizens of Gaza. $8 billion would be used to counter China in Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific. In order to gain more votes, House Republicans added a bill to the package that could ban TikTok in the U.S. if its Chinese owners don't sell their stake within a year. President Joe Biden first requested the money last summer, but congressional leaders had strong opposition from a growing number of conservatives who question U.S. involvement in foreign wars. Donna Warder, Washington.
Insisting that he committed no crime, former President Trump heads back to court this morning as his criminal trial continues in New York. Mr. Trump's accused of trying to illegally influence a 2016 election. The defense says that trying to influence an election is called democracy, and it's not a crime. Mr. Trump says this trial is the stuff of which banana republics are made. Take him in.
I get indicted. I'm the leading candidate. I'm beating Biden. I'm beating the Republicans now. I have the nomination. And this is what they try and take me off the trail for. That check's being paid to a lawyer. He is
The payment, he says, was properly documented for what it was, a legal expense. Columbia University canceled in-person classes and police arrested dozens of students at New York University and Yale as anti-Israel protests roil a growing number of U.S. college campuses. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures 40 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Worried about inflation, digital currencies, political turmoil, and the future of your investments? It's time to take control with Conservative Wealth Protection Group. During these times, central banks are buying gold and precious metals at record levels. But the question is, are you? With access to the cheapest bullion in the nation, we have a deep understanding of the precious metals markets. We'll reveal strategies that both the wealthy and everyday patriots just like you are using to get the most out of their tax-deferred retirement plans. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau, we provide guidance without high-pressure sales tactics. Our No Fees for Life IRA program offers the lowest prices on precious metals, along with tax-free and penalty-free transfers. Explore your options with a free consultation. Call 888-964-4333. That's 888-964-4333. Protect your family and your investments. Call 888-964-4333 now.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Freedom isn't just a word. It should be a way of life for all Missourians. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a state where you're free from excessive taxes, regulations, and corporate handouts, and free to send your children to the school of your choice? That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together our 2024 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can progress to a bright future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from a Bill of Rights for parents to government transparency, school report cards, healthcare reform, and more. Our vision is for Missouri to be a place where entrepreneurs can pursue their dreams, parents are free to direct the education of their children, and a growing economy provides opportunities for all. Critical to achieving this vision is a government that understands the value of freedom in the lives and future of our people. Check out our 2024 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare ya!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin
All right, what should the rules be when it comes to who can own what land? That seems like a really weird question.
Yeah, generally speaking, because the way I think is we're in a free market.
Right.
Whoever, if you can pay for it, if the person who currently owns it is willing to sell it to you, you should be able to own it, right?
Well, that's yesterday.
Okay.
Today we got a different debate.
All right.
On it. We'll explain that in just a second here. By the way, News Talk STL Flashback Fridays. Let's talk about that here. Because this Friday, if you want your 80s bump music request to be heard on the radio station, let us know now. because we're getting a lot of requests.
They're coming in every day. Got another 2 of them yesterday.
Okay, I always ask the same question. Were they any good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. So if there's something you want to hear for the 80s bump music on Flashback Friday, let Stell know or let me know. You can tell us on social media or just email us as well. 706 as well. Interesting debate that's happening in the Missouri Capitol right now. It's happening in other parts of the country as well, but it has to do specifically with farmland. And it's got some of the Republicans, some of the more conservative Republicans, at odds with the Chamber of Commerce types. Now, way back when, once upon a time, Chamber of Commerce types used to be conservative and generally leaning Republican. I don't think you can say that anymore.
Not quite.
But we're joined now by State Senator Bill Eigel. And Bill, you're kind of mixing it up and with the Chamber of Commerce types. And it wasn't that long ago. I remember being involved in politics where, oh boy, don't make them mad. They're the ones with the checkbooks. But the disagreement in this case is over who's allowed to own what land. And we're talking about foreign interest here. So what's proposed that's got the Chamber of Commerce types all kind of having a hissy fit in their crumpets?
Yeah. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. And you're right, this issue of foreign ownership of our ground here in Missouri is really taking center stage down at the legislature right now. Here's how kind of this got started. If you go back to 2013, prior to 2013, it was illegal for foreign countries or foreign entities to buy farmland in this state. The reason that was the case is because, the farmland is our food supply. There is a very well understood realization that we should only have Missourians or at least Americans owning the farmland in this state. We don't want foreign countries or foreign entities, even if they're our friends right now. We don't want them to own our food supply. So before 2013, it was illegal for them to buy our farmland. In 2013, the legislature passed a bill that allowed more than 250,000 acres of our farmland to be sold to foreign countries, and this was to facilitate a deal of Smithfield Foods in northwest Missouri. It's one of our largest food producers anywhere in the state, to be sold to a Chinese entity. And when the Chinese bought Smithfield Foods, this Chinese conglomerate took control of about 50,000 Missouri acres of farmland. So this has been a very kind of hot button issue because now we have countries like China that aren't friendly to the United States controlling a big chunk of our food supply. And so there's been an effort to undo that for the past few years. I've been leading that effort to not only make it illegal again for foreign countries to own our farmland, but to actually get the land back. So a couple of weeks ago, I passed an amendment onto a bill that effectively banned foreign ownership of farmland in the state of Missouri and got us back to where we were before 2013. Well, come to find out, the Chamber of Commerce, which apparently is looking forward to selling more of Missouri to foreign countries, has a real problem with that and has taken a public stance against me and, called me anti-business and called me anti-free market, all these different things. The reality is I'm just trying to protect our national security because, as I said before, I think Missouri ought to be owned by Missourians, or at least Americans.
Okay, so let me ask about the free market aspect of it, and really what we're talking about is a role of government issue as well. Is there a difference between saying, okay, somebody from an adversarial nation like North Korea or China or Russia or somebody like that versus somebody who lives in Canada or England or something like that? If they want to buy the land, what's the role of government in deciding who can buy it and who cannot? Because at the very least, I think we need to address the market-based question about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And for me, having foreign countries own our land is a bad thing. In fact, it's not just the government of these other countries that we're talking about banning. I'm talking about banning foreign nationals and foreign corporations. And, I'll give you an example of a foreign corporation or foreign entity that's not necessarily the country itself. The World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is extremely hostile to American interests. They're globalists. They're elitists. They're led by a mega villain by the name of Klaus Schwab. He is a German national. Now, Germany, of course, is one of our NATO allies. So, but that being said, I don't think that foreign nationals from a country, even that a country might be our friend, is a good idea to allow them to take control of our farmland. So for the same reason that I wouldn't want the Soviet Union or folks from the Soviet Union buying our farmland back in the 1980s and 1970s, for the same reason I wouldn't want Germany or German nationals or Japanese nationals to be buying our farmland back in the 1940s. For me, the only policy that makes sense in defense of our national security that protects the sovereignty of our state and our country is to put a ban on the sale of our farmland to any foreign country, whether they are friends with us right now or not. The reality is, I'll go back and I'll keep saying it, I think that Missouri ought to be owned by Missourians or Americans. The only reason that I'm willing to identify this restriction to an otherwise unrestricted free market is because I think it is a national security issue, and we have seen that if you allow foreign countries to take control of your farmland, they're going to control your food supply. There's no path in my mind that makes that okay and makes that better for this state. So when people ask me how many acres should we sell to any foreign country, my answer is always the same. It ought to be 0.
Morning, Bill. So how would this apply to, let's say, a foreign company does a lot of business, maybe they are a manufacturer, they make things, they sell them here in the United States, they'd rather have a local factory, so they want to buy some land to build a factory. Does this sort of rule apply to them, or particularly if they want to convert, let's say, old farmland, a family farm is going out of business, and they want to convert that area into a commercial? Does that apply to them?
So right now, the bill that I got passed only applies to agricultural ground. So in the event of commercial ground or residential ground, it does apply to that. Now, I will tell you that the same restriction that I see on farmland, I personally would apply to commercial or residential ground, but that's not what this bill does. And by the way, if somebody wants to, if a foreign country wants to invest in Missouri, there's nothing stopping them from leasing the ground. There's nothing stopping them from leasing the facilities on agricultural property to do what they need to do. They can. The difference, of course, between a lease and an ownership is the lease comes with certain restrictions of what they can or cannot do on that ground, and that's a way to keep some American control on that ground. So there's plenty of ways for businesses to invest in the state of Missouri. What we're saying is you can't actually own the ground and control the ground to that level if you're not an American citizen or you're not an American interest.
We're visiting with State Senator Bill Eigel. Let me ask you about another piece of Missouri legislation, efforts to defund Planned Parenthood. I know you just wrote about this on your social media here as well. Okay, yep. This has happened before, hasn't held up in the courts. What are the chances that the defunding bill makes it through the legislature again this year and sticks after the inevitable court challenges? Because this is one of the things, just from a moral and a policy position, I just really want to see happen.
Yeah, and I think you're not alone in that, Mike. I think that not just Republicans, but a vast majority of independents and even a few Democrats want to see that their tax dollars are not going to fund Planned Parenthood. So the bill that we've got passed, I'm actually optimistic on both counts to your question. One, I'm optimistic that it's going to get passed because it's going to be very difficult to pass the renewal of some of the health care taxes over the objections of the Freedom Caucus down in Jefferson City if that bill that bans money going to Planned Parenthood doesn't pass. And so there's a lot of special interest swamp types that really are desperate to see this health care tax that they're talking about getting renewed. So I don't see that happening if we're not going to get a Planned Parenthood defund bill. And then so secondly, I'm also optimistic it's going to pass the inspection by the courts, because what we used to do is we used to go into the state budget bills and put language associated with the budget bill saying, hey, none of this money can go to Planned Parenthood. The court specifically ruled on that and said you can't put that type of language in a budget bill. You have to pass it in a standalone bill, which is precisely what we're doing here. So we are actually literally going through the process that the courts identified we would have to in order to make it stick. So I feel on both of those cases, I think it's optimistic. It's going to get done. It's going to stick, and I think a lot of folks are going to be happy about that.
Good morning, Bill. Stal Ponticus here. The changes to the Title IX issue by the Biden administration looks like it's going to destroy the protections that we have for women. Can Missouri and the rest of the states push back on this situation?
Well, of course we can push back on this, and this is the kind of the showdown between the states and the federal government is becoming more and more urgent every passing year, and what you just described is exactly one of them. I think there is a vast majority of Missourians that believe in the idea of women's sports, that don't believe that boys ought to be allowed to play in girls' sports, and they're going to expect leaders in this state to stand up and defend that. We passed a bill, as you guys know, to defend women's sports last year. It's got a sunset on it, though, in 4 years, so we're going to have to re-engage in this conversation again. And we're going to the more that the federal government comes into the state of Missouri to push these outrageous ideas that the federal government's coming up with in Washington, D.C., the more necessary it's going to be to have folks in positions of power and in the highest levels of leadership in Jefferson City that aren't going to take any guff from the federal government and are going to do those things which will make it easier for the state to resist federal mandates and bad ideas, specifically reducing the amount of federal money that's coming through the state budget. That's how the federal government controls the state of Missouri. It sends so much dollars that it's printing and borrowing in Washington, D.C., down to state capitals like Jefferson City that come with standards of behavior that we have to comply with, that it makes it very difficult for the state to maneuver. So a lot of the CRT, the DEI, these other bad ideas that are coming out of D.C., they're being funded through the Department of Education at the federal level, sent down to Jefferson City and appropriated through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. I've made it one of the biggest planks in my platform as running for governor of the state that we're going to dismantle that bureaucracy of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and we're going to stop taking the money from the federal Department of Education. So I have encouraged and hoped for that type of attitude coming from our current administration, Governor Parson, but as you guys know, he's not interested in that, and he is actually taking us the wrong direction. So I think there's some big changes on the horizon when we get a new administration on board in Jefferson City, and the effect of that is that we're going to be able to much better resist precisely these kind of ideas coming from Joe Biden or anybody else down there in Washington, D.C.
Okay, and speaking of the campaign, we've already tagged you on social media, Bill Eigel, state senator, but let's put out the campaign website information, and appreciate you being on.
Yeah, BillEigel.com. Check it out. We've had tens of thousands of individuals sign up to be volunteers, to sign up to stay involved and get involved with the effort. By every metric, our campaign is doing things that Jefferson City never thought we could. We're moving into second place in the polling. We've raised millions of dollars to get our message out. And here we have about 100 days left before now in the primary. I am the only candidate that's moving up in the polls right now. Both of the other two are sliding or imploding because their message isn't connecting. The Missouri I'm talking about that I want to get us to, it's going to have no personal property tax. We're going to defend our farmland. We're going to detain and deport the illegal immigrants in our state. Let's go, Missouri. BillEigel.com.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, 314-912-1019. Another thing that lawmakers are thinking about in Jefferson City.
Yeah.
Should we have a higher standard, a higher age level to buy smokes?
Mm-hmm. They are considering this, yes.
They are considering, because we have various levels of adulthood around the country and in Missouri. I think we should just have one.
It'd be nice.
Yes. And Gabe, you and I, we might disagree on where that line is.
Oh, gosh, yes.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I disagree with like 90% of people.
All right, let's talk about that at 7:22. I'm curious what people think. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
You're such a contrarian.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Can Donald Trump get a fair trial in New York City? Of course, I think he can, but I know I'm biased. We'll ask legal expert Daniel Street about that Tuesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hello, morning people. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Colombo and Katie.
See you then.
Okay, when are you an adult in America, and when are you responsible for your own decisions?
There are a lot of lines.
We got a lot of lines.
Yeah.
Here's the reason I asked the question. Is because there's a bill filed in Missouri in this case. Could happen in any state.
Mm-hmm.
Because State Representative Brad Christ, who's from St. Louis County, and I'm not taking a position on the bill. You may like it, you may not. I just think it brings up an interesting question.
Yeah.
And that is, when are you old enough, mature enough, and responsible enough to make your own decisions regarding buying tobacco?
When should we be expecting you to start adulting?
Right.
as the kids say.
Much better way of putting it. By the way, still ahead here. St. Louis has a homelessness problem. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of ways, government caused some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of it, some of it.
And they're continuing to exacerbate it, too.
Absolutely. Government is exacerbating it. But the U.S. Supreme Court is considering a case that may tell cities and everybody else what they can do about it, what they can't do about it. So we're going to have that conversation at 7:35. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
And it'll have an impact on St. Louis. Not just the city, but the region.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we'll get
curious.
to that here. 7:35. All right. You've got to be 16 to drive.
Mm-hmm.
You could be 14 or 15 to be charged with a crime as an adult.
Yep. It's true.
18 to vote.
Mm-hmm.
18 to sign a contract.
Mm-hmm.
18 to take out student loans.
Join the military.
Join the military at 18. 21 to buy alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And Representative Brad Christ says that you should be 21 to buy tobacco products, to buy a stogie.
Right.
To buy a cigarette.
Right.
And buy some dip.
So you can buy a house at 19, like your wife's son there.
Yep.
But you can't celebrate it with a cigar.
No.
If this law goes through, right?
Right. And so I guess whenever these questions come up, it's a role of government question. It's also a role of, kind of what do we expect in our society?
Culture and society.
Because at some point you're a grown-up.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to draw an arbitrary line somewhere. Every culture does it.
Yes.
In many around the world, it's 16.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in some, they've made it even younger than that, just traditionally over the centuries.
That's true.
So in the United States, we've generally thought 18 was the line of you're an adult now.
Right. Like for sure.
Right. And we can throw you in jail.
Mm-hmm.
We can hand you a gun and send you to war.
Mm-hmm.
You get to vote and decide who our leaders are. But you can't have a drink with dinner.
Right.
But you can't go have that cigar to celebrate whatever.
As a 20-year-old combat veteran, maybe even with a Purple Heart, you've been wounded in combat.
Yeah.
You were drafted to be sent there. You can come back to the States, but you can't have a drink about it.
Right. So
Interesting.
here's where Gabe and I disagree is where should that line be?
Right. Yeah.
Because I say that we have decided that 18 is the line.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you're an adult. That's when you can get sued. That's when, as opposed to your parents suing you for something stupid you did, you get sued yourself for something stupid you did.
Right.
You can sign contracts. Like I said, my wife, like you said, my wife's older son, he literally just bought a house. He now lives in a house that he owns, and he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Put down 20% and is a home owner. So he's now building equity as we speak right now.
Right. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Especially considering that his former classmates who have, the ones who've gone to college have signed up for basically the same amount of money to owe the same amount of money as him.
Oh, yeah.
But have nothing to show for
right.
it. In 4 years, they could still have nothing to show for it.
And he may very well be on his second house having built up a little bit of equity.
Yeah.
He's in the city, so I don't know how much equity he's going to build up, but he's going to build up something. So I say it should all be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe driving, obviously younger, but I like that we tier up the driving.
Sure.
But other than that, I think that it should be the same. I think if we determine that somebody's an adult and we are going to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions at 18, criminally, civilly, contractually, whatever the case is, I think that's when you should be allowed to make the other decisions, buy a drink, buy tobacco, buy whatever. Do I think most 18-year-olds are mature enough to do that responsibly? No.
Probably not, no.
No.
Given our experience with 18-year-olds, it's clearly not, actually.
But what we're doing right now is we've got a system that says, government says, well, you're an adult.
Sort of.
But not adult enough.
You're an adult, sort of.
We're going to trust you in deciding who the president and who your U.S. senator and governor is, but we're not going to trust you with red or white wine with dinner.
Right, exactly. That's a little beyond your capacity.
So I say, and this is where I think we agree, we need to have a line, and that's it.
Yeah, I would prefer a single line.
And so that we agree on. Yeah. I say, let's do the radical thing and say, if you're an adult at 18 and we can ship you off to war, we can throw you in jail. We can sue you for a breach of a contract that you're allowed to sign. I say everything should be 18. I think that's where we disagree.
Yes, and here's where I'm coming from, guys. So as you are considering that angry email to send me or the messed up comment in Rumble, consider where I'm coming from on this. According to science, not the science, but right. Actual science, the brain of human beings only finishes. You're only finished cooking at 25. Your brain actually solidifies your capabilities, your kind of personality. A lot of things about you solidify at 25, and that's when science says you are technically an adult. Yeah, at that point, that you actually start declining. but
explains so much.
So if we were going to have a sort of singular sort of scientific way of looking at this, 25 would be it. But here, let me throw another messed up thing in the mix, because here's the other side of me. I'm a Christian, and as such, I have other considerations here. I think you are morally accountable at 13. So I could just as easily say the age of accountability for all things should be 13. I just don't think our society is geared towards that whole deal. I think back in the day when if you messed up in your decision making that you died, 13 made sense.
When your life expectancy was 32.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So on Rumble here, Fed Up Big Time. That's by the way, that's I haven't seen Fed Up Big Time before.
Welcome.
So hey, welcome. It says it doesn't matter the age set. It depends on the individual. Some are mature and able to make rational decisions at 18. Others are not mature enough to make the same choices at any age. That's true.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But when it comes to whether the government recognizes you for the purposes of privileges and rights, I don't think you can be subjective. I think as a matter of like the law and the policy, you have to draw a line.
Yeah.
And we've just drawn like 5 or 6 lines.
Well, to that end, okay, and I'm just spitballing here. I do not support this idea, but it just made me think of it. What if there was an adult test? Because if the idea is everyone ages, everyone matures at different speeds,
which is true.
This is all individualistic sort of idea. Should there be a test essentially that says, okay, you are capable and ready, you have demonstrated on some level, some essentially arbitrary level, that you are an adult, then you get the privileges of adulthood. But until you pass that entrance exam into adulthood, you are still treated as a child.
who gets to write that test.
And there's the other question. That's the other question. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and right now the test is age.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what was written into government. So I don't know whether one's better or the other. What do you think, Stel?
You know what? Robert on Facebook makes a comment that he thinks women mature earlier. Yeah, I could see 25 for men.
Sure.
But his comment is, well, I don't know. I think a lot of women I know are smarter earlier, make better decisions earlier than that, maybe 20, 21, 22 years old.
Possible, although I don't, as I've been watching on social media,
that's true.
I'm not sure that's entirely true.
watching an election.
Yeah, and then there's, oh my gosh, there's the statistics on that. Maybe prior to birth control, that was the thing. Well, again, because the thing is, we keep talking about environmental things, things that affect us.
Look at the protests on the campuses.
Yeah.
You've got all of you, especially if you're a dorm student, you got everybody else in the dorm out protesting. What are you going to do? You're going to go out there and join them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, your environment does a lot of shaping on you. And I think our food supply, for crying out loud, has changed so much since back in the day when people would start their lives at 15 that I'm not even sure that's been helpful. Hormonal birth control. People don't talk about how much those hormones, the massive amount of hormones, affects the way women think. So, I mean, I've seen some studies that a lot of ladies are doing now, and they're trying to blow the whistle on this stuff.
That's a whole
other discussion.
That's like a whole big thing. That
Actually,
we probably
that's
should do.
That's like a podcast.
We should do that. Yeah, exactly. All right, just ahead here, St. Louis, among the many cities, we've got a homeless issue here. Government isn't making it better.
No, we're making it worse.
We're making it worse.
So.
Yeah, the government's making it worse here. U.S. Supreme Court actually hearing a case on what cities can and cannot do, governments can and cannot do to deal with homelessness. You better believe that this is going to affect us here in St. Louis. We're going to talk to our friends at the Pacific Legal Foundation just ahead here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restored Neuropathy Treatment Program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
In England, a doctor is facing verbal and possibly physical threat. Why? Well, this was the president of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health. She was commissioned by the UK for an independent review on gender-affirming care. She handed over her 388-page report, and the findings indicated, quote, no good evidence for the medical push to transition, saying it's all built on shaky foundations. Well, immediately there was backlash. She expected that. She adds, what dismays me is just how childish this debate can become. If we don't agree with somebody, then I'm being called transphobic. And yes, she is afraid now to use public transit. Her picture's been out there, her name. She is worried that she might be targeted at any point. There is a plus side to what she did. England's National Health Service says it will now pause first appointments for teenagers under 18 and will review its adult gender services and the use of hormones. So at least for now, they're going to pause and reconsider.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hi, News Talk STL listeners. This is John from Thrive. Because of you, Thrive has won Give STL Day the last 7 years in a row. When this happens, not only does it give our tiniest preborn citizens the loudest voice in our city, it puts us in front of thousands of abortion-vulnerable mothers and fathers who desperately need our services. There are 1,000 top nonprofits that participate each year, so imagine the impact that your investment makes. Give STL Day is coming up on May 9th. Early giving starts April 24th, and life champions like yourself have set up a double match up to $100,000 so that every dollar you give goes towards saving 2 times the lives. Each year, News Talk listeners have stepped up and made it clear that the fight for life is the greatest humanitarian effort of our time, and there is no better cause to support. Join us again to keep the life banner waving high over our city for the 8th year. Go to thrivealivestl.org right now to activate your triple match and keep medical missionaries on the front line. That's thrivealivestl.org.
Listen anytime.
It happens anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news with the News Talk STL app.
Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go.
Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store
or at newstalkstl.com.
Hi, this is Mark McCloskey. Check out my show, Mark McCloskey on Fire, Sunday afternoon at 5 here on News Talk STL. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We're getting a lot of ideas on the comments on what would an adult test look like.
Yes.
So check those out. It's really pretty interesting stuff here. All right, a Supreme Court case is looking at how governments can address homelessness and specifically how to protect people on all sides of this. We're not just talking about the homeless people. How about the people whom homeless people cause problems for? We see that a lot in St. Louis. 7:38 right now. By the way, newstalkstl.com. We don't talk about the website that much.
No, yeah.
One thing I noticed is that when I look around the news websites, at least here in St. Louis, they're so freaking annoying.
Oh, so many pop-ups and autoplays and especially the autoplays.
We don't have any of that on newstalkstl.com. And that's, of course, also where you can find news, our political cartoons, podcast, streaming audio. It's all there without all the junk on there. So check that out, newstalkstl.com.
That was in my contract, actually. No autoplays on the website.
Right. That's right. That's it. Okay, so U.S. Supreme Court hearing arguments regarding this case involving homelessness. Now, it's not about homelessness. It's about what can and can't governments do regarding homelessness. Because it's sure easy to screw things up from a government perspective.
Oh, gosh.
It's not always easy for governments to figure out the right thing to do. Honestly, I think they should probably get out of the way and just let the private sector come and deal with it. But we're joined now with Mark Miller from the Pacific Legal Foundation. And Mark, give me kind of a primer because, you know, I've read the articles on it. I've read some of the briefs. I'm not a lawyer, so that's not going to resonate with me the way it will other people. But essentially, what's at stake? What is it that the Supreme Court has to decide when it comes to homelessness? Because for a lot of people, I think this case has been a little bit confusing.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Mike. And I agree with your point wholeheartedly that, you know, letting the private sector figure out our problems and trying to solve them almost always is better than the government, other than basic government functions. But here, what you have is you have the appeals court in the Ninth Circuit, which is the West Coast, which traditionally, historically, over the last several decades, has been the court that gets things wrong the most, and the Supreme Court has to fix them. Here, the Ninth Circuit said that local governments can't do anything to address the homeless unless they have enough beds for all the homeless in their town, such that then they can somehow fine the homeless for not coming to those beds. But otherwise, hands are tied, local governments can do nothing, and the homeless can take over and build encampments on public property, public parks, sidewalks, and what have you. And City of Grants Pass, Oregon, in this case, said enough.
Yeah, so really, just so I'm understanding this, is that unless a city at taxpayer or grant, whatever expense they come to, unless you're willing to take custody and provide them housing, you're not allowed to say you can't pee on the sidewalk here, you can't sleep on the underpass, you can't, set up a tent in a neighborhood, you can't take over a park. So unless you're willing to just provide everything, then you can't do it. That's actually the question before the Supreme Court.
That's ultimately the question is, can a city say that it's wrong to fine people who say they're homeless and who are then sleeping or camping on public property? All those downstream issues you mentioned, defecation, urination, tend to follow. And the government and the homeless advocates would say, oh, no, you can punish that, but how can you have one without the other? You can't. And the justices here, for the majority of them, were very skeptical of the homeless advocates' position, which isn't to say we're not all sympathetic and empathetic with the homeless, and we don't want our governments to punish them severely. And we'd rather see the government, to the extent that the government has a role here, is try to get them help, whether it's mental illness help, drug addiction help, whatever. But whether they can even do that is what this case is about.
Good morning, Mark. 8-5 here. So it would seem to me that if there was a ruling that suggested that this was true, that the government would have the responsibility of providing for the homeless, that would also then have the power to force them into that situation, right? To basically, like, we have this number of beds, and all these homeless are out here. They say, I don't want to move, but we kind of have to make you at that point. Wouldn't those things gonna go hand in hand?
Unintended consequences.
The unintended consequences of it, yeah.
I think that's a great point. And, number one, you're looking at how expensive it would be for the taxpayer, as you said, whether we call that grants or not. Ultimately, we're paying for it if there is some sort of responsibility that the government owes to the homeless. Another point here is our rights are not rights for the government to give us something. Here would be housing. No, our rights are that the government doesn't interfere with our rights. We get freedom of speech, freedom of the press, what have you. The government can't interfere. Here, the homeless advocates have turned that on its head, and they're saying, no, the government, if you're homeless, the government either has to give you a place to sleep or leave you alone to take public property, which is what the homeless are doing. The Supreme Court's going to have a problem with that. The argument made it clear that a majority of the justices don't agree with what the Ninth Circuit did.
And cities all over the country, St. Louis, where we are, and others, they're dealing with laws that have been passed basically to outlaw public nuisances from those who are homeless. And, of course, there's the debate, empathy versus, order and all of that sort of thing. So those are the types of laws that would be affected by whatever this outcome is going to be. Laws that say you can't loiter, in parks or in public areas and that sort of thing. So really, probably most cities or states have some kind of law, Mark, I'm guessing, that's going to be affected by this ruling one way or the other.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Even though, as I said, this is about the West Coast, the Ninth Circuit, which is California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Hawaii, etc., it would impact because of the U.S. Supreme Court. If the U.S. Supreme Court were to agree with the logic that we cannot in any way fine or in any way discipline, charge the homeless who are doing those kind of things, acting like a vagrant, threatening the public, you get into this real problem for the cities with the local, law enforcement officer. When am I violating their rights to be in public? And the idea, as you said at the beginning, Mike, the idea that what about our rights, our right to walk down a public street without being interfered with by a homeless person, our right to use the public park without it being covered by a camp that's full of drugs. Mm-hmm. So again, not to say the homeless don't deserve to be treated fairly, but that's not what this case is about. This case is about whether it's cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment to even fine them at all unless you have a bed for them, which is, patently absurd. Yeah.
So assuming that the Supreme Court rules the way we're expecting them to, and they strike down this Ninth Circuit opinion, basically things go back to status quo, right? Where the state government or governments do have the right to make these regulations on public behavior, and we can just kind of move forward from there, right?
I think what you'd see, yes, is even though I have to emphasize that how we got here with the homeless crisis growing and growing over the last 40 years, the number of homeless in this country has doubled from about 250 to 300,000 to about 650,000 is what the federal government emphasizes. We have to figure that out. But the bottom line is, yes, if the Supreme Court were to rule the way I'm predicting, governments could try and do more to get rid of these camps and hopefully would encourage the private sector to do more to help the homeless and the governments can do what they can do as well.
Well, and then the unintended consequences, I mean this in a good way, is that every city and state would not be restrained in some judicial way from coming up with their own solution, be it private sector, be it public, be it a combination of the others. But it seems like a ruling in favor of the homeless advocates in this case could really handcuff a lot of jurisdictions, a lot of cities, a lot of counties, a lot of states who are dealing with this because, I'm just seeing with my naked eye driving around, there are more homeless people and more tents up than I used to see, in the cities in which I've lived, and obviously St. Louis now for a long time. And so I'm seeing it. So it seems like a ruling that goes the wrong direction could really handcuff a lot of those communities.
It's either going to handcuff them or it's going to put an incredible cost on them, because you would have to see local governments, and I don't know where they're going to get the money to do it, build massive homeless bed facilities, and we all know what that'll look like and how bad that will turn. Government housing doesn't work. That's a whole other discussion for another day. But the idea that we're going to provide homeless housing through the government and somehow that's going to solve this problem is a reach. And that's why really I think the Supreme Court is going to say government should have a free hand to address the homeless, but not be required to provide them beds or leave them alone, because leaving them alone gets us to where we are now, which is not tenable.
Okay, so to simplify it down to the dummy Mike Ferguson level of dummy, is we've got, a feel-good advocacy saying you have to do something and do this versus, hey, keeping the role of government in its proper place is messy and complicated sometimes.
That's exactly right. This was a great example of the feel-good. In fact, at one point in the argument, the woman was saying, the lawyer for the homeless advocates was arguing that, well, she would like to live in a world where the homeless would have a right to bring their dog into a homeless shelter, but that's not a constitutional right. And the idea that someone was even arguing that to the Supreme Court, that's even something to consider, shows you how, touchy-feely and feel-good this argument was. And that's all well and good. Justice Sotomayor did seem to go along with that homeless advocate lawyer. But I think the rest of them were looking at this a little more commonsensically, which is to say, no, the government can't be expected to do this.
Okay, this is another one of those complicated issues that affects us no matter where you are in the country right now. You all have put your brief up on the website. You all are commenting on this. Mark, how do people follow what you're doing? Because I encourage people to read up on this because it was really eye-opening. How do they get in touch? How do they learn more about this case?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. PacificLegal.org, you can find our brief. I'm also on Twitter at Miller Appeals, or X, whatever we call it these days. Normally, we sue the government. It's very rare that Pacific Legal will ever support the government. But here, the homeless advocate argument was so out of line that we did come in and support the government and say, government needs to have a freer hand here to address our homeless crisis. And so PacificLegal.org, check us out. We'll represent you for free if you're in a fight with the government, which is what we usually do.
Yeah, they like to sue the government.
Yes,
out there.
That's why we like them.
That's right. Hey, Mark, good talk to you again. Thanks so much. This is really a fascinating case.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right. What do you think? 314-912-1019. Okay, so this isn't technically homeless, but would you choose the van life? Would you live in a van?
Oh, gosh.
Would you even consider living in a van? Have you seen these on social media?
Oh, gosh,
the van
yes,
life?
yes. They're basically digital vagrants.
I love those videos. And a survey was done. Stell's got something cooking in his noggin up there.
You could kind of tell.
And there was a survey, and the number of Americans who say, oh, I'd be willing to just live in a van, will surprise you.
Really?
Yes.
I'd do it if it was down by the river.
There you go.
There you go.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, it's Columbo for Capriotti's Sandwich Shop. Capriotti's is famous for setting themselves apart due to their dedication to superior quality and ingredients like slow-roasted, hand-pulled whole turkey and American Wagyu straight from Snake River Farms. That dedication to superior quality is evident from the very first bite into a Capriotti sandwich. Visit Capriotti's Sandwich Shop 7 days a week at the corner of Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill, and get more info, including how to impress at your next event with their great catering at capriottis.com.
Looking for a cruise vacation? Cruise.com is offering its exclusive Sale of the Year to all listeners to this station. Every major cruise line, including Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Princess, MSC, and more, are on sale now. Call 1-800-507-9264 and book one of these deals while supplies last. Cruises start from as low as $39 per person per day. There isn't a better vacation value to places like Alaska, Europe, the Caribbean, South America, and more. Call one of the largest cruise specialists in the world at 1-800-507-9264. We'll find you a vacation that includes drinks, Wi-Fi, excursions, and more. Call 1-800-507-9264. That's 1-800-507-9264. Space is limited. Don't miss your opportunity to book the best deal of the year. That's 1-800-507-9264. Sponsored by Cruise.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Danny Define with the Next Gen right here on Sundays at 10 p.m. Now back to a hot, steamy cup of Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
16, I found my dream machine. Turn the key and every light turned green. Like Steve McQueen, I'm living in a van down by the river.
I don't know. Maybe it's the social media influencer effect as much as I can't stand that whole concept of influencer as what something you're going to do with your life. But that is a reality these days. Maybe we're just, I don't know, getting tired of people.
But that's back when Saturday Night Live was fun.
Oh, yeah.
True. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was good.
Would you ever want to live in a van?
When I was young and single,
yes,
that would have been really cool to be able to just have my own tiny little space that I could take wherever I want and work digitally doing whatever the heck, made me enough money to continue that lifestyle.
Yeah, so a surprising number of Americans say yes when posed with that question. By the way, a billion here, billion there. Eventually, this green energy thing is going to get expensive. Just saying.
A billion here.
Former White House economic advisor Stephen Moore is going to dissect the latest Bidenomics stunt with us at 8:05. Okay, YouGov did this survey, and we're talking 30,000 people were polled. 30,000. That's a big survey. Big survey. 36% of Americans said van life is something they would consider. Now, if you don't know what van life is, unfortunately, I don't get these videos in my reels anymore. It's weird because the ones that I'm like, I watch every one of them. Eventually, I don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
And I used to watch all the van life ones.
Yeah, every single one, huh?
Yes. I found them fascinating, I think, for the architecture as much as anything, the architecture in the vehicle.
Oh, yeah, with all the hidden compartments and things that fold out and do all the things. Yeah.
The 2.5-minute video where they did here's how we built the thing up, we stripped it out. I will watch it. And we're talking about not the hippie sort of vans where you just threw a bunch of Afghans over the seats and slept on it.
Like a VW van.
Right. Now, we're not talking about that.
Put the mattress in the back of one of those empty transport vans.
Yeah.
Like, no, not that.
Basically, they're taking and creating mini RVs in a very small amount of space. And some of these things are phenomenal.
They're basically tiny house on wheels type of things.
Yeah, they are. And so these so-called influencers are just driving around the country. Here's a day in the van life. And here's what it's like. And of course, I'm sure they're showing all the good stuff because,
oh gosh,
there's plenty of bad, I'm sure, out there as well. But I've looked at that and said, that would be a lot of fun for a couple weeks.
So a vacation,
a road trip,
extended road trip vacation in van life.
If I had the means to do it, and I'm like, you know what, I want to get out of town and I want to explore and I want to drive through the Southwest, or I want to, whatever the case is, I want to go through the mountains or whatever. I think that would be a blast of a way to do it for a short period of time. There are some of these influencers like, well, we're in our 3rd year of doing this full time. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. But
Gabe, you mentioned about doing it as a single person.
Yes.
Yeah. I have an older friend, Bill Cleveland, who's been doing it for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
He is single.
Okay, yeah.
And so it does work out well for him. But he's also an author, and he writes books on all sorts of different tourist attractions in cities around the country. So you can check out his books, and you can check them out online.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
But I mean, a lot of these young people, and they're generally young people, they're doing coding or they're doing review, whatever it is they can do. They can work remote, and they also then just do this as their life. And I watch that, I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun, but I don't know that I'd do it like for a living.
It also kind of looks like a lot of work too. When you really see all the things that go into the infrastructure of living that we take for granted, that's just kind of set in all of the buildings that we occupy and the world that we live in just in our normal lives, you have to fit that into a van. And normally that's not, I mean, you're going to have to go to the Y to shower.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So,
right.
And how do you get mail?
Yeah.
Well, that's
You
I mean,
don't.
I guess you don't.
But there's
which
also
is an advantage.
it is. I mean, you see, here's the thing: is like there's a part of me that the freedom aspect of that, because we in our society we want people tied down to one geographic location. Your house, your appointment, your apartment, or whatever the case is. And if you're truly, I mean, should you be allowed to just live on the road and go wherever you want and live independently?
Oh, sure.
I think you should, but we have a system that doesn't want you to do that.
Yeah, although I think I often wonder if it's simply a matter of being a generational thing, because back in the day it was, I want a plot of land where I can make my own way in the world. I want the independence of a piece of land that I can call my own and I can pass on to my my aunt, gosh, what am I trying to say? My children and grandchildren kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think today kids are so disillusioned with the idea, like, I'm never going to be able to afford a house, is kind of a thought that basically most 20-year-olds have, except for your Rachel's son. But so maybe this is more like a cultural response to that feeling of listlessness, essentially.
So 36% of Americans said, absolutely, I would consider doing that. 13% in that 36% said they absolutely want to do that. So over 1 in 10.
Okay.
52%, about half, said, nope, not for me. 9% are not sure. But most of the people who like the idea were under 30, to your point.
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, here's the thing. If any of those under 30s have a remote job or could have a remote job, there's almost no impediment to them doing that.
Other than these vans are expensive.
Well,
the customized are pretty expensive.
Well, you could probably purchase one, with a loan for the same amount as you pay for rent right now.
Oh, that's probably true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, hey, it's possible.
The same poll found 44% of us would not mind living in a tiny house with less than 500 square feet of space. Absolutely not. No. No.
No. If I'm putting down roots, I want them to spread out a little bit.
Yeah. No.
And do you want to travel with a pet?
Oh gosh,
do you want a dog or a cat with you?
Now, some of these people do.
Yeah, they have a couple cats or something.
That would be
like John Steinbeck's book, Travels with Charlie.
That's right.
That was a great book, traveling with his dog.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomas. Former National Enquirer editor David Pecker returns to the witness stand this morning at former President Trump's New York criminal trial, decried as a Soviet-style show trial by Mr. Trump's defense team. The former president accused of falsifying business records to conceal a payment made under a routine non-disclosure agreement. But the money did not come from campaign coffers. Mr. Trump says it was paid to one of his lawyers, and he says there's nothing illegal about that.
They take this payment and they call it a legal expense, and you heard it today for the first time. This is what I got indicted over. This is what took me off and takes me off the campaign trail, because I should be in Georgia now. I should be in Florida now. I should be in a lot of different places right now campaigning, and I'm sitting here. And this will go on for a long time. It's very unfair.
And before the testimony resumes, a hearing on alleged violations of the gag order imposed on Mr. Trump by the presiding judge. Satellite photos seem to indicate that a 10th city is under construction in Gaza.
This tent construction is near Khan Yunis, which has been targeted by repeated Israeli military operations over recent weeks. But Israel says it plans to evacuate civilians from Rafah during an anticipated offensive on the southern city, where hundreds of thousands of people have taken refuge during the war, now in its 7th month. A U.S. defense official said on Monday a failed rocket strike was launched at a base housing U.S.-led coalition forces in Syria. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
From New York to California, anti-Israel protests have sprung up on college campuses. One particular hotbed of protest, New York's Columbia University, where classes have gone online out of concern for the safety of students. On Wall Street, the Dow futures are up 99 points. NASDAQ futures 53 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Has been confirmed. Those brave Americans who are trying to preserve free speech continue to be censored, shadow banned, or silenced. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to share the liberating ideas of some of America's brightest and most free thinkers. People like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry, whose ideas are putting financial control back in the hands of everyday people, helping them protect their money against a government that seems intent on destroying it. Text TRUTH to 76626 to find out more. As this election moves forward, we just released a report that reveals our 3 favorite ideas for protecting and growing your wealth during the 2024 election. These ideas are especially critical if you have an IRA or 401k. Text TRUTH to 76626. Discover ideas that are so simple and actionable they might save your retirement. Text TRUTH to 76626 now for your free report. That's TRUTH to 76626.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Mike Ferguson.
This is the kind of adventure I usually have to force upon us, and here it is, falling into our laps.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
They're buying it.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Why don't you pop a squat, son?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin God.
When the show started this morning around, 5:30, I pointed out, I said, this Earth Day is getting really expensive with this president, with this administration.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on to use Earth Day to announce billions of dollars with a B.
Billions.
$7 billion to help put solar panels on 900,000 homes in America.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot of money.
A lot.
Besides, our nation's only $35 trillion in debt. So
And is this going to make up for killing off the Keystone Pipeline? I mean, come on. All right. It is 8:06 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. We've got Stella here. We've got Gabe here, now joined by Stephen Moore, former White House economic advisor. Of course, you can see him on Fox News everywhere, print and video as well, and with Freedom Works. And Stephen, I can't say I'm surprised by the president's announcement, but $7 billion. I don't know if these are loans, probably grant giveaways, saying we're going to get middle and lower income people solar panels for their houses. 900,000 homes is the goal, to get solar panels on their homes, and only about $7 billion to do it. I guess my question is, what the heck?
Yeah, $7 billion. That's 9 zeros, folks. We're spending money like it's candy in Washington right now. We're running $1.5 trillion deficits every year, and we can continue to just pour money into these green energy programs. And we're told that these things are super efficient and they're going to lower costs and so on. Well, if they're so efficient, why does the government have to spend $7 billion on it? You don't see the government spending money on oil and gas and coal. Those are basically paid for by the companies that produce them. We are nowhere with wind and solar power today. It still only accounts for about 6 or 7% of our electric power today. Most of it still comes from old-fashioned, coal, gas, oil, and of course nuclear power. So I don't get it. And by the way, I'm not against solar power. I'm not against wind power, but why does the government have to keep spending money subsidizing it? And people, the windmills, those are infant industries. We used to use those in the Middle Ages. So, the whole story of the Industrial Revolution.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we lost you, Steve.
We're not hearing you. Stephen?
No, we'll call him back.
All right, we'll just call him right back. See, but that's the point is, and I said this a little bit earlier, is that I'm not against solar energy.
No, of course not.
I'm not against, any of the renewable energies that are out there, but they need to be market-based.
Right.
And I want to ask Stephen about this here in a couple minutes here, because there's a difference when it comes to a market-based incentive versus a government pushing it,
right,
regarding how quickly is it going to develop into something that is viable.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think with this $7 billion for 900,000 houses, it's roughly like $7,800 per house. So the thing is, if you
can't get much for $7,800.
No, and of course, a lot of that's going to be eaten up by this bureaucrats and agencies and all these other things. So. Look, if there was a market, if somebody did a market analysis and they said, you know what, there's a customer base of 1 million people out there who are willing to spend X number of dollars to for your service as a business, and you saw that as a business owner, you'd start the business and you'd do the thing.
Right.
So why have the government come in and create the market out of nothing?
And we've got Stephen back here. Stephen, let me follow up on something you just said. Regarding, you said you're not against solar, as part of our energy basket. I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we can't have an all of the above thing. But the difference is, and give me your thoughts on this, is it a matter of the incentives that come with a private sector to develop and make it profitable and make it efficient versus a government pushing it on us? I mean, is it a matter of where it comes from matters, or is it a matter of, what the market will bear?
The evidence is crystal clear that when Joe Biden and the environmentalists say, wind and solar power are cheaper. No, they're absolutely not cheaper. In fact, if you look at states across the country, we have 50 states, and you have many of the, especially blue states, that have these renewable energy requirements. And these requirements basically say, you have to get a certain amount of your, electric power from wind and solar. Well, guess what? Those states that require wind and solar power have electric utility bills that they charge families, households, and businesses are about twice as high. So if you're in a state, and I don't know what your states are in Missouri or in Illinois, but the fact is those states have much, much higher costs, and they pass them on to consumers. So it's a bad deal for homeowners. Now, look, again, if you want to put a solar panel on your roof, have at it.
Good morning, Stephen. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So one thing that I always look for when I see these gigantic government boondoggles stepping into an industry is I wonder who's, I want to follow the money. Who's at the other end of this $7 billion? Right. Are we looking at, a new crop of cylinders?
Yeah, you bet. Well put. And in fact, if you look at what's going on in wind and solar, we've had so many bankruptcies of these companies that we, quote, invest in. Don't you love that word?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're investing in them, and then they go bankrupt. Solyndra, everybody remembers that in the Obama years. Now we have Solyndra times 10. And there's no better example than that, by the way, of the fact that even more dangerous is that the Biden administration wants to force people to buy electric vehicles. Now, again, I don't have a problem with the Tesla. If people want to buy Teslas, they're fine vehicles. But I have a big problem, and I think, the vast majority of people listening to the show have a big problem with the government telling me I have to buy an electric vehicle. 80 to 90% of Americans have said over and over again, I don't want an electric vehicle. Maybe I don't want one because, I don't want to have to recharge it. Maybe I don't want it because I'm worried about, the battery blowing up. There are a lot of reasons why people might, or maybe they just can't afford them because electric vehicles are so expensive, even though the government's paying you $7,500 bribe to buy one, and they're still not affordable to people. It's interesting because what's happened to electric vehicles is, what 3 states account for the vast, vast majority of electric vehicle sales?
Oh, which ones?
California, New York, and New Jersey.
Oh, there it is.
People in blue states are buying them, and people in red states, in like the whole states of Wyoming and North Dakota, they're like 12 electric vehicles. But Biden has so politicized it. I call electric vehicles now rolling Bud Lights. People are a lot of people just don't buy them because they feel like it's, if the government's going to, force me to do it, I'm not going to do it. So the worst thing that ever happened to the electric vehicle industry was Joe Biden.
Hey, good morning, Stephen. Stal Ponticus here. Speaking of tossing money around, this America Last administration is tossing $95 billion to foreign aid and nothing for our citizens and our border. Are you as upset and outraged as we are?
I'm not a foreign policy or military expert, but as I've gotten older, I've become more non-interventionist. I think that the way the United States should lead the world is by being prosperous and leading by example. And I have some problems with that aid bill. I'll tell you the 3 right off the bat. Number 1, somebody tell me where the first $50 billion went. Anybody know?
Not sure.
We spent them $50 billion. They don't audit where the money goes. I have a big question mark about whether that money even got to the Ukrainian resistance, the people who are fighting on the front lines, who I support, by the way. I don't support Russia. I support Ukraine. Second of all, hey, we're running a $33 trillion national debt. We don't have we can't afford to be, the world's policeman anymore. We have massive debt problems. They're a huge problem for our security. And the third problem I have is, why don't we if we're going to send the money to Ukraine, it should be in the form of or Israel or Taiwan, because there's money for all 3 of those countries. It should be in the form of a loan. In other words, you are going to pay us back that money because you know what? We need it. None of those things are in this bill. We just keep writing bigger and bigger checks as if it's paper money, as if it's monopoly money, but it isn't. And yeah, so I'm kind of upset about that. I think we should have had much stricter rules about where that money's going to go, and I have very serious doubts about whether that money is actually going to help the countries it's intended to.
We are visiting with Stephen Moore, former White House economic advisor. And Stephen, we'll put out the website and social media contact information here in just a couple of minutes. Okay, we're seeing, every month we get the reports out and the jobs and the unemployment, all that sort of thing right now. But when you factor in all the inflation, I'm tapping into your economic advisor background right here. What are the trends? What are the undercurrents we need to be watching for? Because this is better than any of us on this show right now. During an election year, you can make the stats and the arrows say whatever you want them to say.
Well, look, this is not a good economy. There are some parts of the economy that are good. The jobs market is still pretty good. Although, in the last 3 months, we've lost full-time jobs. We're creating a lot of part-time jobs. Good luck raising your family on a part-time job. But what continues to be the biggest problem for the economy that's just killing middle-class people and lower-income people is the inflation. And the inflation was, I'll just give you 3 numbers. The first number is 1.6%. That was the inflation rate when Trump left office. We didn't have inflation when Trump was president. Biden comes in, he spends $5 trillion we don't have, prints the money, and sure enough, the inflation rate, just as I and any normal person would predict, we have massive inflation. So the inflation rate went up to 9.1% in the summer of 2022. Today, now the inflation rate was falling at the end of last year, but guess what? It's rising again. We're now looking at 4.5% to 5% inflation. And so that's killing families. And the statistic, I just saw President Trump, a few weeks ago, and I said, look, if you look at your presidency, that is Trump's presidency, we saw a $6,000 real after inflation, after tax increase in people's incomes. Under Biden, that number isn't a positive 6,000, it's a negative 2,000. So the average person listening to this show, if you're kind of a middle-class household, you're $2,000 poorer today than when Biden came to office. So explain to me how that's a good economy.
Well, because we're going to get government-funded solar panels on our houses, apparently.
At some point, these chickens are going to come to roost. I mean, we laugh, but that's the attitude. They keep sending out checks to people, and we're becoming kind of addicted to government. And that's not the way a prosperous economy continues to get rich. I think these are very perilous times right now. I think this is a big, big election where you have 2 very different views of where America should go. Biden says, I'm going to raise taxes through the roof and massively expand government. And Trump's going to cut taxes. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to put America first. We're going to have better trade deals. And it's a big time for choosing for the American people. Right now, I'd have to say this race is pretty much a toss-up, but the consequences of what happens are gigantic in terms of the future of our country.
All right, Stephen Moore, what's the best way to follow what you're doing? Freedom Works, Committee to Unleash Prosperity?
I want people to get our Committee to Unleash Prosperity hotline, which is, you're going to love this because there's no inflation in this. It's free. It costs nothing. So just, and I know you guys all get it, right? Yep. It's Committee to Unleash Prosperity.com, and just sign up. And Newt Gingrich told me the other day it's the first thing he reads every morning. And if you like it, we'll just keep sending it to you for free because we want your listeners to be the smartest people in the room.
Absolutely. All right, Stephen Moore, great talking to you again. Thanks so much, Stephen. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Take
Stephen.
care.
All right, let's dump some news on you here. And then at 8:35, the voice, the face of the education freedom movement, Corey DeAngelis, going to be with us. He's actually got a new book out, but man, it's funny. He puts a new book out and 2 things happen. One, so some teachers' unions like, burn it!
Really?
And then it goes to number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to Corey at 8:35 here at 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Destination, making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
I see your indifference. Stop it.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Oh, hey. Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin God. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
When it's important to you,
I follow the news pretty much throughout the day.
it's on News Talk STL.
That case is a scam, it's a sham, and it's a hoax.
This is so infuriating, I don't even know what to do.
Shame on you, Joe Biden!
does the president have dementia?
That is an incredibly offensive question to ask.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is where we've gone to la-la land.
This is why we've got to have a new leader in the White House.
Number one for live and local conservative talk. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Okay, let's say you want your home to be energy efficient, but you're not going to be a part of a government scheme to put 900,000 homes under solar energy, which may or may not help you in any way, shape, or form. And you say, you know what, let's do it the right way. And that means taking care of your home. That means investing in your home. And one of the ways to do that are your windows, believe it or not. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Window World. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. And you say, Mike, what do windows have to do with anything? Yeah, I know they can get a little drafty, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, it actually is a big deal. This is one of the main ways that your home loses heat to the outside during the wintertime and loses that air conditioning in the summertime. And it's going to get warmer and warmer and warmer. And we know that utility costs keep going up and up and up. So give them a call. They get a free in-home estimate, 314-993-1800. Here's how energy efficient they are. Just at the end of last year, the Energy Star ratings were updated, and they're now at Energy Star 7. And the second that those standards were announced, Window World Windows had already been determined to be past them. They are way ahead of their time when it comes to thermal efficiency in your home. And we're talking the double strength glass windows that have a lifetime warranty, and they are less expensive than even the generic windows that you're going to find at the store. So when it comes to making your home energy efficient, you don't need a government program. All you need to do is call 314-993-1800 to improve the look, to improve the security, to improve the performance of your home. And listen, Window World is not one of those companies that gets that appointment and they are going to berate you and put that high pressure on until you sign that contract. We've all been through those. We hate those. Guess what? Window World hates those too. John, who owns the Window World offices here in St. Louis and has for 20 years, he can't stand that either. I was literally talking to him about that just last week. He said, that's not for us. We don't hire that type of person. We don't do that type of business. He said, we want to provide a great service, a great product, take care of our customers, and then you know what? The rest takes care of himself. And the fact of the matter is that over 20,000 homes in St. Louis have Window World windows, every one of them with that lifetime warranty. Get your free custom quote and demonstration by calling 314-993-1800. No pressure, no obligation. They will show you the window, let you literally stand on top of it, answer your questions, and then they're going to let you make your decision on your own because that's how you should be treated. Once again, 314-993-1800.
Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
Soros Fund Management is positioned to become the biggest shareholder of Odyssey, the nation's second largest radio company.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one for live and local conservative talk. This is News Talk STL.
Springtime in St. Louis means one thing. That's right. Golf is back, baby. Whether you're a beginner or a scratch golfer, you're sure to enjoy your golf experience at Sugar Creek Golf Course. Sugar Creek is a scenic and challenging course and well suited to golfers of all abilities. Located in High Ridge, just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois. At Sugar Creek Golf Course, our courteous and professional staff has one goal: to make sure your golf experience is enjoyable. To book your tee time or to learn more about the special event and banquet facilities, simply visit sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s New Country streaming now. Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Is every good reason for letting you go?
The
morning news dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the morning news dump.
All right, anti-Semitic crime, not just fashionable in the big cities anymore. Unfortunately, we're seeing more of it here in the St. Louis area. And should the rules change to give all you temp tag derelicts a second chance? Okay. I'm the one who's not mad at you. I just thought it was fun.
It is Temp Tag Tuesday.
That's right. Yes. All right, by the way, in about 10 minutes or so, the primary force behind so much of the school choice movement and education freedom movement in America, Corey DeAngelis, going to be with us. He's got a new book out that takes the next level of the fight for school choice just up a notch. And so we're going to hear from him just ahead here. All right, President Biden used Earth Day to announce new federal money for residential solar projects.
The president touted $7 billion in federal grants to help low and middle income households.
This new Solar for All program means that 900,000 households, 900,000 will have solar on the rooftops for the first time and soon.
The grant money is part of the $27 billion Green Bank created as part of the 2022 climate law. That bank has faced Republican opposition and concerns over accountability for how the money gets used. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Grant money. Grant money there, Gabe. Grant money.
Yeah, that's not
We're
how that
just
works.
giving it away. It's free money.
Free money for everybody. Let's go.
Good God. All right. And responding to this, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum was on Fox Business's Kudlow last night, and he goes, yeah, this grant money, billions of dollars to give away for this energy source that, hey, it could be good for some people depending on your situation.
Right.
But it's not efficient the way that a private sector would bring it to the market. He says, hey, you know what could be on our hands? An energy crisis.
The crisis that is coming is going to be around electricity, because with the electricity, prices are up 30% under Joe Biden, but he's driving baseload down, creating artificial demand by subsidizing EV cars, and the price is going to continue to go up and the reliability is going to go down.
We're getting squeezed is what's happening.
On both sides.
From day one of the Biden administration, ending the Keystone Pipeline project, making it clear to the market it's going to be more expensive because we're going to allow less natural resources, less fossil fuels to reach the marketplace, shutting off the supply, trying to mandate things that take up energy, diverting the supply away from us. It's making it more expensive because it's reducing the supply while trying to basically trying to finagle the demand from a top-down perspective. And what we've got right now is just an overall effort to squeeze us into complete dependency on government through energy.
Our solar capabilities right now, just in terms of technology, are just not up to snuff
it's not there
to be just even individually for an individual a positive economic decision. I mean, there's very little in the way. Like right now, I think the only reason why it would behoove any person to put solar on their property is because there's a government subsidy behind the cost that's out there right now. If it was purely a free market, nobody would bother with the current solar panels.
And maybe in 50 or 100 years. But then again, if it's in the private sector, the incentive to develop it faster is there as well.
Right.
All right. A Maplewood household is dealing with repeated anti-Semitism through vandalism. A Jewish family who asked not to be named in the Fox 2 story on this, but shared video of vandals repeatedly defacing both their Israeli flag and pictures of Israeli hostages that they're displaying, the hostages taken by Hamas. They are saying that these things have been defaced over and over again. At least one arrest has been made in large part because they have the video of the people. So Maplewood, I'm pretty sure I know exactly which house this is because I don't live too far from there in Richmond Heights. And I even mentioned to my wife, we drove by last time, I said, I'm surprised that Israeli flag is still out there. And I'm surprised somebody's bold enough to, in Maplewood, a left-wing community, to actually make a stand and say, I support Israel.
Right, yeah. We're dealing with a disease. It's a cultural disease that's infected American life, and I'm afraid for what the remedy will be.
Right, exactly. All right. Could Temp Tag Tuesdays be put on hold? Okay, here's what's going on. A proposed Missouri law would give those with expired temp tags one mulligan.
Okay, for how long?
Okay, so if passed, anybody with an expired tag would be allowed to get a 30-day extension and a new temp tag printed. One time, 30 days. After that, though, you can't get any more temp tags, and you'd be expected to pay the sales taxes and get the real plates as normal.
Why are we still doing this?
Because people don't want to go get their tags.
No. This is all going to go away in a matter of like 2 years.
I know.
Like that's the thing that really gets me. It's like, why do we keep getting this flurry of legislative activity about temp tags when we already had a definitive stopping point for the whole thing?
Because some communities started the temp tag Tuesdays, and they're like, we're doing this because
keep rolling.
They want the sales tax money, they want the tax revenue, and people are going, oh, but I'm poor. I can buy a car, but I can't pay for the tags. And so, there's a couple lawmakers who are like, well, let's give you an extra 30 days. But after that, I mean, sure, your temp tag right now says, May of 2023, but just another 30 days, and I'm sure you're going to get it all figured out in your life.
So the government's like, it's my money and I want it now.
Yes.
I think there's somebody they can call for that, right?
Yeah.
J.D.
All right.
Wentworth.
That's right. The Cardinals got this series off to a good start, at least, beating the Diamondbacks at Busch Stadium walk-off fashion. Both Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Gorman had home runs in that 5-3 win. Ryan Helsley picked up the win. He was a relief pitcher. He threw 1 inning, but he gets the win. So, you know what? Good for him.
Best thing about it, from my perspective, it was a come-from-behind win.
It was.
Down 3-0, and you come back to win 5-3.
Yep, and Nolan Gorman's home run is what sealed it in the bottom of the ninth, walk-off style.
Right field, into the stands. That was great.
There it is. So, hey, something there to cheer about. Cardinals, just keep doing that. Not what you did against the Brewers, please.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
A light shower can't be ruled out this morning, but higher rain chances arrive this afternoon. That's a cold front making its way across the area, so count on some scattered rain. Some thunder and lightning possible too, but nothing severe. Rain chances peak in St. Louis between 1 and 6 p.m., so we should be able to get tonight's Cardinals game in. We'll clear overnight tonight, drop down into the mid-40s early Wednesday, and pleasant weather tomorrow, partly cloudy, up to 69 Wednesday afternoon. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
Ivy League university administrators stand down as pro-Hamas and pro-terrorist mobs intimidate Jewish students. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Ivy League universities are supposed to foster and educate the nation's best and brightest minds, but that tradition is in the toilet. Rather, these elite universities, such as but not limited to Yale and Columbia, have instead become festering hotbeds for anti-Semitism and anti-American campus thugs. I'm all for free speech, but what these anti-Israel and pro-terror campus mobs are doing and advocating for is well outside of protected speech. Yet campus administrators do nothing. When rabbis resort to advising Jewish students to stay home or indoors for fear they will be targeted and attacked, well, that's when you know things have gotten beyond the scope of the First Amendment. Let me also say this. If your brat kid is out there protesting for Islamic terrorism, you failed as a parent. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Old man winter in the rearview mirror. Warmer weather here. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service, 636-379-1830. 24/7 at hansonstree.com. This is the perfect time to spruce up and beautify your landscape beds. When you purchase organic mulch in bulk from Hanson's, you save on price, time, and incredibly convenient. Tons of commercial and residential tree care services as well, grinding and land clearing, plant health care, and more. 636-379-1830, hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Does your life insurance plan include living benefits, hearing, diabetic supplies, teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones? Larry Connors here. I suggest you call Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Call 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
A little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Rob Carter. Join me weeknights at 8 p.m. as I challenge our politicians, expose the political press, and analyze pop culture. It's the Rob Carter Show, weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. here on News Talk STL. Now let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Who's gonna tell you when it's too late?
When it comes to the political issues that affect us, we don't take many things more personally than education. And here's the thing, is that shouldn't be political in the first place, but it is. Political and cultural wars are happening over and through education policy in this country. That's not the way it should work out, but that's just the way it is. Hey, I'm Mike Ferguson. I would say the most prolific advocate of school choice in this country is Corey DeAngelis, who joins me right now. And Corey, I want to talk about your new book here, because even the title is just laying it on the line and really provocative. The Parent Revolution, Rescuing Your Kids from the Radicals Ruining Our Schools. And I know that one teachers union president has already said, burn the damn book. And which I think is kind of telling as well, because I don't think anybody's actually read it yet out there. But when you decided to put another book out into the marketplace and you're saying revolution, radicals ruining our schools, that sounds like what you're saying is, hey, we got a 4 or 5 alarm fire here we have to deal with when it comes to education.
Yeah, absolutely. And the radicals ruining our schools are pretty upset. Their hair is on fire and they're calling to burn the books. I mean, this was a teachers union executive board member in Wisconsin calling to burn the book already. So, I mean, it's just it's so hypocritical. The same people on the left who are saying that conservatives are the one banning books by taking sexually explicit content out of public school libraries, which is a smart thing to do. It's not banning books. You could still buy those copies online on Amazon. It's not a ban, but then they turn around and say, oh, we got to burn this book I've never read because it's from a conservative, from a viewpoint that I don't like. I mean, so they always accuse others of what they want to do. It's Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. But this book really goes over the problem and the solution and really why we've been winning on the school choice front over the past 3 years. The teachers union radicals overplayed their hand, awakened a sleeping giant, which happens to be those parents who want more of a say in their kids' education. So it has been a parent-led movement. They've become a new interest group of sorts, fighting for their own kids. They're the kids union as opposed to the union representing all the adults in the system. And they've been very successful in that this new movement has caused 11 red states to go all in on school choice, meaning every family in those 11 states can take their kids' education dollars, to the public, private, or home-based education provider of their choosing. It's Milton Friedman's vision of universal education freedom coming to fruition finally after decades and decades of incremental reform. We've gone from 0 to 100 real quick, and it's because conservative parents woke up. They saw what was happening in the classroom through Zoom school, or what some people call remote learning, because the far left radicals had infiltrated the government school system for far too long. And most parents thought their public schools were okay because they saw the test scores, they saw that they got an A rating from the state, and they thought, hey, my kid's coming home with all A's on his report card. Things are okay. But what the pandemic revealed and the union-induced school closures revealed was that things weren't all okay. There was something else going on in the schools that was not measured by the test scores, and that happened to be the curriculum not being aligned with families' values. We saw CRT, we saw gender ideology still happening in the schools, and parents became mobilized like never before and caused a school choice revolution.
Now, a lot of times that pushback that you just talked about with the gender ideology and the, racial oppression matrix teaching and all that sort of thing, a lot of times people get fired up, get some momentum, and it sort of peters out and people go on about their lives. Is there a risk of that happening and the teachers' unions and the other establishment kind of just waiting it out and retaking control? And if so, when you're talking about the parent revolution, is this sort of a how-to guide to stay involved or take the momentum to the next level?
Yeah, I think the parents have woken up and they're never going back to sleep. I mean, this is happening to their young children for 13 years of their lives for 7 hours a day. So they're going to fight to reclaim those schools as hard as possible and for as long as it takes, as long as they have a kid in the K through 12 education system. Because what they've seen, it's hard to forget the abuse that's happened within the public school systems. And so I think this fire is going to continue, but I will say you need to point to realistic solutions for families so that that fire can continue. And I think school choice is the best solution. It's not the only solution. We should reform the public schools too. And school choice does do that through competitive pressures. We saw over the past couple of years, the National School Boards Association labeled parents as the domestic terrorists for complaining at school board meetings about critical race theory and other ideologies. Well, if the parents could vote with their feet and take their money with them and hit the school boards where it hurts through from their funding streams, well, then the parents would have a stronger position in that relationship with the school boards. The school board would be less likely to cut off their mic when reading books at the school board meetings. The school board should be less likely to bully and silence parents into submission, or at least attempt to do so, because the parents will have a real say. They'll be able to vote with their feet. So with school choice, you don't even need to move schools to improve the education system, because the school boards will actually have an incentive to listen to parents. And so I don't think this revolution is going to stop, especially when more parents start to take advantage of the initiatives allowing them to take their money with them. You basically, again, create an even more powerful interest group that if the authoritarians in office want to come and try to take it away from them, well, look, parents love the freedom to choose a school that works best for them. If the politicians give their power away to the parents and let them choose, the politicians are never going to get that power back, because families will have a vested interest in not allowing the government to take that power away from them again. And so we saw that in states like Arizona, where in Arizona, they had a pretty robust school choice initiative with 10,000 students using education savings accounts to attend private or home schools. Started in 2011. And then in 2022, they went all in, made everybody eligible. About 80,000 parents or families are using the initiative now, about an 8-fold increase. And the teachers union groups tried to get rid of the program by referring it to the ballot to try to take another bite at the apple to get rid of it. because the Democrats and the teachers unions, they have an incestuous relationship. 99.9% of the contributions from the teachers unions go to the Democrats. You can look it up on the Open Secrets websites. It's basically a money laundering scheme, and it ought to be illegal. That's the only reason why we have so much opposition to parental school choice. They weren't able to refer it to the ballot. They couldn't even get enough signatures because parents were already benefiting from the initiative. They showed up at the signature gathering locations and informed voters that the unions were basically lying, that this was actually helping their kids. It wasn't hurting them. And this was actually improving the public schools at the same time. So they informed the voters of the facts. The voters weren't buying the union's garbage, and they didn't sign the petition, and it didn't allow it to get onto the ballot. So this is all good news. I think this momentum is going to continue. School choice has reached escape velocity, but the book also includes a lot of recommendations for different bills that you can pass in your states to also tweak the public school system, including aligning the school board elections to the general election. A lot of people don't know this, but with the school board elections, they're on random days in the middle of the summer on the weekend. Not during the general election. They do that on purpose to lower the turnout as much as possible so that the establishment special interest can have an unduly influence on the outcome of those elections. It's funny, the same people who cry about democratic participation and wanting to increase voter turnout, they don't bring that same energy when it comes to school board elections. They'll fight tooth and nail against aligning it with the general to increase turnout. So that's just one example of other things we can do. School choice isn't the only solution, but I would say it's the best solution to make the system listen to you.
Okay, the book is called The Parent Revolution, Rescuing Your Kids from the Radicals Ruining Our Schools. And Corey, people want to follow what you do. What's the way to be in touch or follow along with you online?
Yeah, you can follow me on X, formerly Twitter. It's just my last name, first name. It's at DeAngelis Corey. And if you want to find the book, it's basically available everywhere already. Remember, the teachers union board members are calling to burn the book. They're literally calling to burn the book. That tells you probably ought to read it. It's just Google The Parent Revolution and you'll find it.
Corey, great talking to you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, once again, you can just Google The Parent Revolution, and actually the book, it's not, you can pre-order right now, so you can get it and it'll be sent to you, I think, within a month or so. It's about to be released, so you can go ahead and buy it right now. Matter of fact, we're going to put it up on the News Talk STL book club, so you could do it right through there if you want. Okay, what do you think? 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Who's gonna tell you when it's too late? Who's gonna tell you things aren't so great?
Caring for a loved one is stressful. It's an emotional time, and we want our loved ones to get the quality of care they deserve. But the cost of long-term care is expensive. In the St. Louis area, it could be $60,000, $70,000, or even over $100,000. Can your savings handle this added expense? Fortunately, News Talk STL listeners have an expert right here. Financial strategist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management shows families tax-efficient strategies to fund care needs. Whether planning in advance, have health concerns, or living in a care community today, solutions exist to fund the quality of care you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Visit SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Alphi LLC, SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Hey, St. Louis, my name is Rob Carter. If you are sick and tired of the corporate news bubble, if you like unedited information free from corporate money, if you want straight talk with no script, join me weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. on The Rob Carter Show.
Live and local, weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
Illinois lawmakers, some of them just can't help themselves.
No, not at all.
Especially
from Chicago.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we've debated the whole tipping culture thing.
Yes.
I'm among those who say this has gotten out of hand.
Oh, it's gotten way out of hand.
But there are jobs that have traditionally been tip-based, and that's what we're talking about. And apparently some leftists in Illinois don't want to leave these people alone either. They're trying to say it's all about the workers, and the people who provide the jobs are going, hey, what about us?
Hello.
I have trouble over here. All right, so here's what's going on. There's a bill that's been proposed in Illinois to deal with regulating people who make their living on tipping. Mm-hmm. Actually, regulating their bosses.
That's more like
really
it,
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's nothing we can't micromanage in Illinois, right? with a big enough government.
We can do it all.
So if you want to look it up, it's called House Bill 5345. By the way, to all of my political friends, just a quick side note, little sidebar here, because, especially once you see like a lot of the younger people who want to be really impressive and like, I work at the Capitol. They'll talk in a language that's SJR this and SB this and HB this and HR this and a bunch of numbers and you're not impressing anybody when you talk about you're not.
You're just kind of losing us.
Yeah,
really, that's
and
what's happening.
You sound like a nerd.
You're confusing us.
Yeah, that's It's like if you watch SJR 43281.8.
Hike.
No, yeah, really. And you're like, no, Lucas, what was that? And it's like, oh, well, that's the one that does this with the, the utilities regulations. Everybody knows that. I'm like,
don't you know?
You know that because you don't spend your time dating. That's why you know that. But anyway, so if you want to look it up in Illinois, House Bill 5345, it's sponsored by a state representative named Lisa Hernandez, who is from the Chicago area.
Yeah, it's Cicero, Illinois. We're looking at you.
That's right. So here's what's proposed right now. Just so you know, the minimum wage in Illinois is $14 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hire a 16-year-old who has no life skills or professional skills whatsoever, you're paying that person $14 an hour.
At least they can write their name on the W-9, right?
Maybe. Depending on which public school they went to. But here's the thing. It's been the standard practice for generations that whatever the minimum wage is, if you work in a type of job where you get tips,
right,
your minimum wage is a percentage of that. So a little while back, Illinois changed the law and said, okay, the minimum wage is $14 an hour. Those earning tips, the minimum wage is $8.40 an hour.
Right.
But if you have a work shift to where your tips don't add up to $14 an hour, the boss still has to make up the difference.
Right.
Okay. I think that's pretty clear there.
Minimum earnings even on the slow day.
Right. So at the very least, you're making $14 an hour no matter what. If you get stiffed by every customer out there, that's still what you're making. Okay. Now, this lawmaker, Representative Hernandez, wants to change the law to get rid of that sub-minimum wage for tipped workers and just say everybody's minimum wage is the same at $14 an hour. And then these tipped workers can make more money on the tips. See? Just pass a law and suddenly they make more money.
Well, is that really how it works, Mike?
Still, your family has a long history in the restaurant business. Is that really how it works?
Gosh, I don't think so.
Yeah. And you say, no, I don't think so based on decades of experience.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't imagine a business trying to make a profit in that.
No, it's pretty tough. You know, my mom and dad were in the business together for about 12 years, and then my dad was in it with his brother for about 10 or 12 years before that. So for my dad, it was about maybe 30 years in the business. And I have a cousin, as I mentioned earlier, down in Dallas-Fort Worth, who has a chain of restaurants, and I see comments from him maybe once a month complaining about the issues that he's got to deal with because of paying his employees a fair salary, which he wants to do.
Yeah, because he wants good workers to be there. Listen, my daughter, she's a manager, so she's got a decent salary. But when you look at the tips that she makes running a lounge here in St. Louis, she makes more than I do.
Yeah,
she'll be 25 this year. Big money. Now she's worked her way up to a pretty good level of business that does that, but she started working, at an IHOP when she was in high school. And then in college, she was working at a restaurant that doesn't exist anymore here in St. Louis. And now she's running this place up here. So most tipped workers, if they take their job seriously, they don't care about the minimum wage. And this is one of those situations where lawmakers can't help but say, is it broken? No. Then let's go fix it.
Yeah. And my cousin down in Dallas majored in restaurant management at Oklahoma State. So he knows the business inside and out. And like I mentioned to you a second ago, it's been tough for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this case right here, you've got the business owners going, whoa. This is part of the business model.
Yeah.
And you've got they had a public meeting on this.
The commentary and all that.
A whole bunch of servers showed up and bartenders were like, would you please stop messing with our tips?
Stop helping us.
Stop doing it. Please stop helping. Please stop protecting me to death. Please. And the other part of this is, you've got those on the hard left are saying, well, what we're doing is fighting for the worker. We want them to have a livable wage. It's the employer's job to provide them a livable wage. First of all, no, it's not. Period. It's not.
Right.
It's their job to provide you compensation for your time that you've worked there based on whatever's mutually agreeable.
And that you agreed upon. Exactly. Right. That's what I was going to get to. Yeah.
And so in this case, they're saying, we just want to have more money. And the idea that you're going to pass a law and suddenly people are just going to have more money and it's not going to cost anybody anything.
Magic.
Like their jobs is just asinine on this. It's worked this way for decades. And the people who want to do this as a part-time job or a full-time job, and they figure out how to do it, they can make really good money. Stop threatening their livelihood.
Dare I say it, Democrats don't understand the business world. I don't think
or
most
anything.
Of them
Or anything.
In economics, you're right. But they don't understand job creation, entrepreneurialism, and the role of profit.
If you just recently inherited a property and you're not sure what to do with it, maybe it needs a lot of work, but you know you need to get it sold, reach out today. 314-417-1000. 417-1000. My name's Chad Clayman with Clayman Real Estate, where we've been buying houses directly from the seller with no middleman involved for over 90 years. We're a family business and we help simplify the sale for folks that don't want to list the house on the market and have to deal with the entire sales process. And we specialize with people that just recently inherited a house. We're very familiar with the probate process, so if that is you, please reach out and we can simplify your sale today. 314-417